by saying it's Trevor Phillips. It could be. As I say, I spent most of yesterday fucking drunk. So,
Oh my.
I don't know.
Do it. How do you do it?
Right, I've got to get this.
Well, I had this very weird. I was saying to Pooch, I had this very weird sort of Saturday, which ended up with me. You know, I went to the rugby. We started drinking at about 1 o'clock.
Yeah, that's the thing. All day
And
drinking.
then ended up.
Then you need to pick me up for
Then
the
I
party.
woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I couldn't get back to sleep, so I just thought, I'll get up and start cooking.
Yeah.
So I just got up and started cooking.
Was that Sunday?
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah.
So I sort of opened a bottle of red wine, and I was standing there at 5 o'clock in the morning, cooking, drinking, and it's just, that was kind of how the day went. Good morning, everyone. It's 7 o'clock, Monday the 9th of February. I'm sorry. I've been saying this is going to happen, right, for years, actually months, weeks. I don't know what you want to. Emma Wolf is here. Very good morning to you, Emma. I didn't really mean to burst out laughing there as we decided to go. My collar's not right. Keir Starmer's finished. He's completely done, dusted, just get out, right? This bloke is so stupid that he thinks by getting rid of Morgan McSweeney that somehow he's going to save his arse. Well, he's not. It's rubbish, right? The whole project has fallen down around his ankles. He might as well just drop his trousers and bend over again. Because in the end... Keir Starmer is no more. He has ceased to be. You know, you could do the whole dead parrot sketch thing. Emma, I mean, what can you say?
Well, I'm just putting away the popcorn.
Right.
We have somebody standing outside waiting.
How long can Starmer cling on? Not long. The Times has got PM's top aide quits over support for Mandelson. I mean, do they think we're stupid?
Literally.
That, you know, oh, Morgan, I tell you what, here's a great idea. You leave and everyone will go, oh, it was all his fault. And now Keir Starmer can be left to do his own bidding. I mean, how stupid are these people? This
is a ridiculous... This makes the situation 1,000 times worse for Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
Because a bad workman... What did his father do? A bad workman...
blames his toolmaker father.
Tools.
Yeah.
A bad general blames his soldiers.
He does.
Right? If a 63-year-old Prime Minister thinks that by getting rid of a 48-year-old's bad, the ginger's bad, leaving for him, his chief of staff that he appointed, his second chief of staff to go. If he thinks that him leaving, no one's ever heard, you know, outside the bubble, no one's heard of Morgan McSweeney anyway.
Nobody knows who he is.
By this point, everyone's forgotten what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
although Morgan McSweeney...
Well, how about this, right? This is Patrick Maguire, who I have a great deal of respect for, a big political player in the Times. Yeah. He says, Sir Keir Starmer has never led the Labour Party without Morgan McSweeney. He would never have become leader of the Labour Party without Morgan McSweeney. Yeah. Everything he's done as leader of the Labour Party has been driven to varying degrees by Morgan McSweeney. OK, well, A, shows how bad Morgan McSweeney's judgment is, but B, you're right, he is the kind of brains behind the... I mean, I wouldn't call it brains, but he is the thinking behind the figurehead that is the Prime Minister. Yeah. He doesn't know what he thinks about anything. He doesn't have opinions. No. He doesn't know what he thinks until McSweeney tells him what to think. So he's in trouble now because he doesn't have anything in his head. No. But also, if he stays... How did he get to be Prime Minister?
Literally.
It just makes you wonder,
but he didn't win. They didn't win. The Conservatives lost, and we have to remember that. Labour did... I mean, you know, the country was just desperate for anything. Yeah. They didn't know what they wanted.
And also, by the way, it looks now more and more likely that, in fact, Peter Mandelson was running the government, not Keir Starmer, because now Mandelson appears to have his fingers in every single pie.
Every single pie.
Even to the point where yesterday's statement by Morgan McSweeney says... This is his first statement. After careful reflection, I've decided to resign from the government. Well, who put you in the government? He's an aide, right?
Exactly.
He's a sort of tea boy. How is he in the government?
But Mike, I'm really glad you brought that up because A, we have forgotten what it's all about. Because I saw Andrew on the front of the Sun and I thought, oh yeah, God, and he's in all this, really.
Yeah, there's another story to do with him that we'll get to.
But this is crucial. The reason why is McSweeney gone? He's gone because there's hundreds of thousands of documents that are going to be released. Yeah. Whitehall documents that's going to be released with him at the centre of them. Yeah. That's why he's gone now. So Squeaky Bum Starmer is really going to be in trouble. If he clings on this week, what's going to happen over the next few weeks? It's absolutely hilarious. It's right now. It's sort of when, not if, he goes and how shameful it is. Yeah. But if he lets this happen,
embarrassing for
if he
Britain,
lets McSweeney go now, all he looks like is that he's shifted, he's not taking responsibility.
And it probably wasn't even his idea. I bet you any money, McSweeney came to him on Saturday and went, do you know what? I think I should probably go. Yep. And that will help you. Yeah. And that's why I'm going to do it. And he'll go, he has no idea
no,
what he's doing.
I'm convinced that Starmer...
He's literally an idiot.
...would have kept him...
He's an idiot.
Begged him, probably on his knees. I think he begged him. I think he's probably begged him to stay.
Maybe I'll get on my knees and do a reenactment of the Starmer McSweeney scenario. No, I know, but it's mad, right? And then, again, because of, I'm afraid, the kind of the craven nature of political reporting, they're showing pictures of these two women who are now taking over, who are apparently Morgan McSweeney's deputies, right? One of them looks like she's had a few too many pies. Yeah. Jill Cuthbertson, Joint Deputy Chief of Staff, alongside of a woman called Vidya Alakasan. Why anybody would want to take credit for advising Starmer is anybody's guess, right? But again, McSweeney, people said he's a genius. He's absolutely brilliant. You know, he was the one that masterminded the election campaign. Well, like you said, he didn't have to win the election. He just had to make sure he stood there while the Tories lost it, right? But McSweeney, being painted as some kind of, you know, boy genius, is such rubbish.
It's absolutely
exactly what has he done that's so great?
He'll have been paid a very, very generous salary, and I think he probably just wants out of all this. I think he is terrified about what's going to come out over the next few weeks. He was Mandelson's protege. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So he doesn't want to be around.
Basically,
he'll have a break. Yeah, he'll have a massive payoff as well. And he's out of the frying pan right now. Yeah. And Starmer is in it. And I think we need to put someone outside Downing Street Put one of the herons outside Downing Street because I want to know what's going on in there.
Well, nobody knows.
One of the herons go near to the open breakfast window where they're having breakfast. Victoria and Keir having breakfast, and can we listen? Because what is going through Starmer's mind right now? How is he going to cling on? How is he going to spin this so that he lets his chief of staff go to take responsibility for something he can't take the fall for this? He's the Prime Minister.
He's the Prime Minister. He's made a complete rick of every single thing that he's done. Let's just think back to, Keir Starmer taking over on July the 4th. We're going to play a load of clips over the course of the day today, some of which you'll remember, some of which you won't remember. But, remember he was going to come in and get rid of sleaze?
Yep.
There was that.
End of sleaze.
He was going to get rid of, he
was going to restore trust in politics.
He was going to restore trust in politics. He was going to get rid of the doubt that people had about politicians, not doing what they said they would do. He was going to be transparent, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
He was going to make sure that everybody knew what he was doing and would have faith in what he was doing because they'd given him, absolute permission to go and go forth and sort of multiply, if you like. But it's been absolutely, everything he's touched has literally turned to the opposite of gold, hasn't it? Everything he has touched has gone rotten.
Everything. And, quite apart from the main one, which was he was going to smash the gangs and stop the boats, which he's totally failed to do. In one of these statements...
He smashed his own party.
Yeah, smashed up his own party. Right. No, but worse than that, I don't care if he smashed...
Stop the votes.
I don't care.
Sorry, luckily you didn't hear what Pooch just said there.
I don't care if he smashes up his own party. He smashed up the country.
Yeah.
That is much worse.
He smashed the economy.
He has smashed... What do you think this is doing to the bond markets right now? How does the UK look right now? We have a really, really unstable government. No, but this is serious.
Yeah, no, I know.
We don't need any more instability in our economy. For goodness sake, we're in a terrible, terrible state.
We are.
And there were some great columns over the weekend, people talking about shame, restore shame to Fraser Nelson, restore shame to politics, because these men have no shame. Taking. Mandelson, I'm just entitled to a £12 million home. Yeah. Oh, really? Is that what you think?
Again,
and then,
let's go back to that, because that was on Friday afternoon, wasn't it? That suddenly the police were investigating Peter Mandelson's houses, right? They were crawling around.
They did a raid in Regent's Park, just near us. Yeah. They were coming out with blue plastic boxes full of files. 4.5 hours raid.
Right.
He gave them permission then to go and look around his Wiltshire home.
Yes.
Then lawyers were seen visiting his place in Regent's Park.
Yeah.
How did he buy that? They're on a £90,000 salary.
This is what I want to come to.
So how did they buy all that?
Because there are absolute and utter papers that would point to the fact that he had a conversation with Jeffrey Epstein around about 2010, 11, about buying a pied-à-terre in London, right? Now, I don't know, and I was asking somebody over the weekend who knows about, how to track these kinds of things, how you can, if it's in a trust, you can't find out. But you can find out who owns a property, just by who's listed on the deed. Now, it may well be that Mandelson owns the property, but it may well be that he bought it with money given to him by Jeffrey Epstein, right?
Absolutely.
How does he have 12 million quid or 9 million quid, or whatever the bloody house costs? It's got 4 stories, it's got a wine cellar.
Oh, no, those houses are cost
millions. How dare these people live off the taxpayer like that?
It's the entitlement, and that's the rage, I think, against Andrew and Mountbatten Windsor and against Mandelson, but also Starmer and McSweeney and a lot of them, is that, at this time, and I hate to get back to boring stuff, but people are genuinely struggling. Yeah. People are actually working really hard, and they are trying to pay the bills. And you look at these guys, and they are the entitlement, the sense of, well, of course I should have a couple of, £12 million, £8 million, £4 million houses around London, and a couple of country pads, and fly here, there, and everywhere. It's not acceptable anymore. I think the rage is reaching boiling point in the country.
Because they get a taste of how the other half lives, and they get a taste of famous people and rich people, and they love politicians. There's nothing worse. They love rich men.
Of course they do.
They like hanging out with them. They like the look at the old Deripaska scenario. The Russian oligarch who had a lovely boat in the Mediterranean. Who doesn't want to go on a nice multi-million
amazing pound freebies all over the
Russian hookers all over the place, whether they're male or female. It's unbelievable. And then they can't live without all of those trappings.
Exactly.
Right? But they can't afford them themselves, so they have to basically sell their souls in order to live like that.
Absolutely, and they get these jobs, consultancy at JP Morgan or whatever it was that Mandelson was trying to get. Yeah. They're not working. They don't have any clue. They literally just want the trappings of wealth, as you say, and the I mean, the sense of entitlement coming off Andrew and off Mandelson at the
Well,
moment.
we're going to come to Andrew in a second. But before we do that, let's have a look, shall we? Because we might as well enjoy this. Because, I mean, there are many people out there who are saying, oh, you know, Keir Starmer's a decent man. He's a lovely bloke. He won't be enjoying this. He's angry. That was my favourite line on Friday. You know, Keir Starmer's very angry. Who cares? I couldn't give a toss whether you're angry, mate. Just take your trousers off, give them back to Lord Ali, and go back to wherever it was you came from. Because you're no use as a Prime Minister, you're no use as the leader of this country, and you're no use as a man who can actually make sure that whatever it is that you're doing is not done either criminally or with intent to deceive. Because quite frankly, Keir Starmer, you have been a complete and utter bleeding disaster. Let's have a look at some of the rubbish that he used to come out with. And his contradictions are as long as your arm. Have a look at this.
I want to pay tribute to Jeremy Corbyn, who's a friend as well as a colleague.
You wouldn't call Jeremy Corbyn a friend?
No. We have to make the case for freedom of movement. We don't want open borders. Freedom of movement has gone and it's not coming back.
Cutting off power, cutting off water, Sakir?
Well, I think that Israel does have that right. I was not saying that Israel had the right to cut off water, food, fuel or medicine. Wounded by the media, the sun in this city, a hurt for this city. And I certainly won't be giving any interviews to the Sun during the course of this campaign.
Did you write an article for some newspaper the other day? Surely that's not going to gain you any support across the Northwest.
Would you write for them again, Sakir?
I would do, yeah.
Can you guarantee that under your leadership, the 2019 Labour commitments to nationalise water, energy, rail, the Royal Mail, they'll all be in Labour's next election manifesto?
I've made that commitment.
Will you nationalise the big six energy companies, yes or no?
No.
No, you will not.
By the Home Secretary was the wrong decision, and I think it was a rushed decision.
In 2019, you said stripping her of her British citizenship was the wrong decision. She's lost her...
Literally every single... It's not even just occasional kind of, you know, has it been misinterpreted? You know, did you mean that you wanted to nationalise it when you did? No, it's literally yes or no as a question. And on the one moment he says, yes, I would definitely do that. Freedom of movement, yes. Then the next interview, no. I mean, the man is, I don't know how he thinks that comes across, but he's absolutely so ridiculous. He's used to having no trousers on in the presence of Lord Ali, says Dog Tails. Yeah, thanks very much indeed for that. We couldn't possibly comment. Get rid of Starmer and appoint Miliband or Lammy. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, this is the thing. Really good point, because I am terrified about what comes next. I mean, we've got pictures of Rayner getting her hair done all over the papers. She's been on manoeuvres. Is that Rayner alternative better? No. Streeting, is that alternative better? No. Lammy? No. Burnham? No. I mean, no.
I think what's going to be interesting is I think over the course of time, because you know the other thing that happened on Friday was that the various WhatsApp messages which were going between Mandelson and every other cabinet minister are now going to be made public, right? I think everyone who has sent Mandelson a message is going to come out looking bad, and I think Wes Streeting is going to be worse than many of them.
Well, I think that's why McSweeney's gone.
Yeah.
Because he was pivotal to that. He was pivotal to that whole movement, the Forward project or something, where everything was going to be recorded, everything was going to come out.
Right.
So I think he's terrified about that.
Yeah.
But do you really believe... I know that there are ways of recovering WhatsApp, so maybe I shouldn't talk to you, of all people, about this. Ways of tracing...
don't give them to any lawyers, is what
electronic things. Do you believe, and I just... Because a lot of people not in the media have asked me this, will everything come out, or will every single politician do what I would have done on Friday, which is... Oh my God! And should delete.
Well, I've been advised, and since you mentioned it, I'll bring it up because this was very much key to my situation with News UK. I was advised that you cannot delete WhatsApp messages which cannot be recovered. Right. So basically, as long as they're on a phone or they're on a network somewhere, you cannot.
But you cannot get rid of them completely.
You can always recover them. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just
and that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to give them my phone, because I was like, I've got WhatsApp messages that I don't want them to see.
Of course.
Right?
And we all do, and we all have a private life. I know. I just wonder whether there's going to be a mass deletion of stuff, and whether they will be able to recover everything. Yeah. Because they're going to have so much to go through. There's going to be so much to go through.
Well, this is the trouble.
So that's the thing.
But this is again why we cannot wait for all of that to come out. Starmer has to go now. Because if he's going to say, for example, well, let's wait and see what the WhatsApp messages show, we could be talking weeks, we could be talking months.
Look how long the COVID inquiry took.
Yeah, exactly.
OK, but Mike, then the other question is, who would you replace him with? Or would you just say, no, general election now?
I'd say general election now. Yeah. And I've been saying this all along, and, you know, I will be looking very smug
You were saying that on July the 5th.
The next time you see me, if it turns out that they've called an election, I will be literally sitting here like Borat, you know, in the middle of the, you know, king of the castle, like that. Because I predicted that this government wouldn't last. I predicted that Keir Starmer wouldn't last as Prime Minister. I predicted that they would have to have an election before 2029. And all of those things are now looking like they're coming true. And every single political pundit now, no matter how serious, from Andrew Neil to Fraser Nelson to everybody else, they're all going, actually, maybe there's going to be an election.
My worry is that we are going to have a coronation of somebody like Rayner, Streeting, Burnham, Lammy, fill in the gaps.
I know.
And that will be
terrifying.
Worse, actually.
But can you imagine how useless they would be and how that would then lead probably to a definite election?
And I think so, you're right.
They would drive the markets over the edge. Yeah. I imagine the City of London would lose all faith in the government, and the Treasury would, and they would say, look, we can't go on like this. Yeah. We must have an election. I mean, we had Liam Halligan on last week, towards the end of last week, and he said that, you know, people compare it to the 70s and, you know, going cap in hand to the IMF. If we went cap in hand to the IMF today, the IMF hasn't got enough money to bail us out. That's how much trouble we're in. Yeah. Right? It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Shall we do this? Pat McFadden. I know that we've got a couple of different clips, Pooch, but the original clip of Pat McFadden, not the one where he talks about, you know, getting rid of Morgan McSweeney wouldn't do any good, but just the original one. This was him on Laura Kuenssberg's show, trying to hold up the sort of the Labour end of the argument, if you like. This was before Morgan McSweeney resigned. Have a look.
This appointment is in the gift of the King, acting on the advice of the Prime Minister. So it's Prime Minister's decision. Yes. But what role did Mr. McSweeney play in this? And should he, as some people, many of your colleagues are saying publicly, be standing down?
I don't think he should. But in the end, it's a prime ministerial appointment. And I think the stuff about Morgan McSweeney is sort of beside the point.
So that's one of the great clips of all time of Pat McFadden, the sort of enforcer of the government, basically saying it's not a good idea for Morgan McSweeney to go because there's no reason for him to go because it's a prime ministerial appointment and he shouldn't. Well, about 2 hours later, he went.
Right.
You know,
it's a prime ministerial
which shows you
appointment.
exactly how useless he is as well.
It's a prime ministerial appointment, A. Yeah. And B, you take responsibility. The ultimate responsibility lies with the Prime Minister.
With the Prime Minister.
If he cannot take that responsibility, he's not fit for the office.
No, exactly right.
That is pathetic.
Yes. Let's have a look at a second clip. This is again Pat McFadden, the enforcer, talking about how this has all been blown out of proportion.
A regular appearer on a Times podcast, part of the BBC's election coverage.
But this is about the Prime Minister's decision.
I don't know if you put these questions to Peter Mandelson about
Secretary of
Epstein
State,
when you interviewed him before this or not. Maybe you did, but quite a lot of people didn't.
This is about the Prime Minister of this country's judgment to hire him to one of the most high-profile jobs in the country. And of course, the benefit of hindsight can be 2020. But the Prime Minister's curiosity seems to have fallen way, way short here.
Well, I believe the Prime Minister will have asked about this relationship. It sounds to me, and I can't know until everything's published, that Peter Mandelson will have enormously diminished it, portrayed himself as some kind of victim of being duped, rather than what's been revealed in the exchanges that we've seen. And, you know, even when you look at the BBC's coverage of the day that Peter Mandelson was appointed as the Prime Minister, there is no mention on it of Jeffrey Epstein.
But this is about the Prime Minister's judgment.
There are, in fact, political opponents welcoming it. So the point I make this is not to say whataboutery or to point the finger at anyone else, but it is to make the point that at the time of the appointment, in many media circles, the issues of Jeffrey Epstein were not being raised.
McFadden is an absolute disgrace, right? He's sitting there attempting to make out that it's all the media's fault. because the media didn't ask enough questions about Peter Mandelson. So despite the fact that he was rehired by Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the country, despite the fact that he was painted as this great character, you know, we call him Peter, you know, and everybody has a great big laugh about it. Apparently it's the media's fault for not asking enough questions about the appointment of ambassador to the USA.
Do you know what? I think it's really embarrassing. I think that, OK, Starmer was given all the information. He should have looked at that. But also I think he was kind of wowed. I think he thought it was kind of glamorous and kind of cool.
Right.
A little bit kind of, you know, left field, actually, to appoint this rather risque gay man to be his ambassador. Even though people were saying, look, there's so much evidence.
Yeah, right.
Look at the photos.
Look at the baggage.
Look at the baggage.
Yeah.
Look at the financial questions around this man.
Yeah.
Look at how many times, twice already, he's had to resign. Yeah. I think Starmer thought it was actually quite a risky, kind of daring move. I think it's pathetic.
Or go around the other way.
Or he really didn't get it.
Or go around the other way and take the view that actually he was told to hire him. Because I take the view that the whole Blair kind of movement has never left Downing Street, right? If you think of how powerful Tony Blair was during the time when he was Prime Minister and what he's done since then, you know, he's become a board member of JP Morgan. He's become an envoy to the Middle East. You know, he started off his own institute. He is now multi-millionaire. He's got a son who makes loads and loads of money out of YouTube. You know, he basically is...
son trying to start up Digital ID.
And who have you not heard from? Who have you not heard from in all of this, right? We've heard from Gordon Brown. We've heard from all sorts of people like David Blunkett, various different, you know, apparatchiks. Pat McFadden was
Morris
in...
Glassman.
Yeah, Morris Glassman. Pat McFadden was in the Blair...
Tony Blair's been very quiet.
Gordon Brown government. Tony Blair has said nothing, right? So I wonder, without wishing to put a conspiratorial hat on, that, you know, Tony Blair still wields an awful lot of power inside of the Starmer kind of, you know, press scenario. And Mandelson, it would appear, was very much a key to an awful lot of things, decisions that were being made, you know, candidates that were being selected, election strategy, because, you know, Morgan McSweeney was his creature. You know, he worked for Mandelson back in the 2009 days. You know, I think there is a massive rat to be uncovered here.
I really do. And they say the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
And I think that all the conspiracy theories on this one are probably, you know, an understatement. I think there is a terrible... Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
But I think we should also mention, Mike, how angry and how stressed and how dissatisfied Labour MPs are right now, and Labour supporters, no one. And that's what's going to do for Starmer. His MPs, how can they come out and defend this now?
Of course they can't.
What are they going to be saying
this morning? They all want him to go.
Who are they putting out
there
there
all want
this
him to
morning?
go. I mean, he could be gone by Wednesday at this point.
He should be gone by midday today.
He should be gone by Wednesday, by midday today, absolutely right. We've got a poll out there today, by the way, and already loads of you watching. Thank you for all your messages coming in. Blair has been running this from day one, says Dawny. Campbell put something on YouTube yesterday, it was pathetic. Yeah, Alastair Campbell's another one.
Oh, yeah.
You know, who is a disgraceful individual. Here's the poll for today. Who has done the most damage to the United Kingdom over the past century? Tony Blair, the European Union, Keir Starmer, or the Luftwaffe, right? They're coming last, by the way.
I know. Which is pretty scary, isn't it?
Everything else has been more damaging since the Second World War. Tony Blair, 64%, definitely leading in the polls. The EU with 9% and Keir Starmer, 26%. No question in my mind that Blair is very much still front and centre of everything that goes on in this country, and particularly with this government. Almost down to the choosing of which cabinet minister does which job.
Yes,
right?
I think he is a very, very dark, sinister force. And I would like to know the truth about all this.
Absolutely right.
Absolutely right. And I think, actually, Mike, since Starmer got in on that 4th of July, the damage he has done to the country is incalculable. And I don't know how we're going to recover.
I don't know
either.
Really don't
know how the UK is going to recover.
And I think we need to get rid of him before the economy, you know, becomes so awful that we will never recover.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. Let's move on to The Sun, because they've got, the story about Mandelson and Morgan McSweeney. So Keir Starmer's premiership was in free fall last night after key advisor Morgan McSweeney resigned. But their main story is to do with more leaking emails, this time from Andrew, the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, who's now known, of course, as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, even though he's moved from Windsor and he's now in Sandringham somewhere.
So he's now still living at the taxpayer's pleasure.
Yes.
He's at Wood Farm, waiting for Marsh Farm to be renovated for him.
Right.
I mean, this is ridiculous. The King needs to throw him out.
It really does.
Completely.
Now, it would appear, according to the piece in The Sun, that he was passing on email information, or information in emails, basically, to Jeffrey Epstein, literally minutes after receiving the emails, all about trade deals that were being done, all about, government secrets that were being given, shown to him. And apparently he may well be in breach of the Official Secrets Act, which might mean that he has to now be charged.
And surely at this point we are talking about a criminal, we are talking about the possibility of criminal convictions. It's all very well, people keep bleating on, he hasn't admitted any wrongdoing, or paying off a woman to the tune of 10 or 12 million pounds, but he hasn't admitted any wrongdoing. There's no evidence. Well, when you start passing market-sensitive information, when you start forwarding emails like that, and there's still millions more to come out, then let's just see, because I think the police are going to be very, very interested. But it's not going to happen soon. It's all going to roll on and on and on.
Exactly. But also, in which world could you do what Andrew does, which is basically just sit at home, right, get into his car once in a while, or on top of a horse.
Did you see him waving and smiling at the paps?
Right. But basically, I'm not going to talk to the police because, that would be wrong.
I'm not going to talk to the police, not going to go to America and face Congress.
But can you imagine if you were wanted for questioning by the cops and you just sort of got on your bike and just said, sorry, I'm not going to talk to you.
Do you know, most of us would be dragged out in our pyjamas, like Lucy Letby, like Lucy Connelly, dragged out and taken to a police station. And forced to answer some questions.
Exactly right. Meanwhile, in another story inside on page 3 of The Sun by Scarlett Howes, the Russian woman Andrew Mountbatten Windsor invited to Buckingham Palace with Jeffrey Epstein was a lingerie model who appeared in Vogue.
But this is now a security
and there's a picture
issue.
Of her.
Because if
I don't know why they've covered her face up, by the way, because nobody's looking at that.
Give her a face, you know? No, but if these people were consorting at Buckingham Palace, and we saw it all over the weekend, these dinner parties at Buckingham Palace, while the late Queen was not there.
Right.
This is now a security issue. What did courtiers know? You can't just have people coming wandering in and out of.
No.
So what did the royal household know?
Right. And when
because
did they
I think
know
there
it?
are questions.
And when did they know
Well, then
it?
there are questions for the king.
Yeah. And
if
how many
he's having these people to Buckingham Palace, it's a national security issue. For goodness sake.
One email from last year shows Epstein asking for this girl to show pictures of her breasts, to which she replies, "I really don't feel comfortable, sorry." I mean, I'm not saying that that's against the law, but it's not very regal, is it?
No.
It really isn't.
This
And presumably they're all running in and out
running
in and out of the toilets of Buckingham Palace, snorting coke, doing lines off each other's asses. I mean, I'm sorry, I've never been to any of those kind of parties either, by the way. But incredible. After an apparent visit to the palace, Epstein wrote to her and said, "I want more Vera time. I was right. Your potential is great. I'm concerned that your fear of affection still seems to make you shy. I want some very hugs."
I know, and you look at the Fergie and Andrew thing, and I think this is why these toxic couples stay together. I mean, they divorced and then carried on living together.
Yes.
Because the amount of money and privilege and favours that Epstein was clearly doing to both Fergie and Andrew, and helping out with rent and getting them jobs here and starting up charities and all of this stuff is so grubby. And I think, Mike, more than anything, it's the grubbiness of the whole thing. People have lost trust completely in politics, haven't they?
They totally have.
Trust in
why
politics
wouldn't you?
has always been low, but when you see this kind of corruption and sense of entitlement and actually immorality, abuse, sexual abuse, abuse of power, financial corruption, when you see the level, and I'm talking about Mandelson as well as Andrew right now, why would people ever bother to believe anyone again?
I know. It is absolutely shameful and very concerning, as I say, because I think, and I said this last week, and it's worse now, that I fear that Britain's own kind of reputation is now at stake. We've got a Prime Minister who doesn't know what he's doing. He's got no Chief of Staff. He's now got these two, I can't say, I nearly said a bad word there, idiots running it.
We've got two replacements.
Right?
But do you know how this looks from the other from the outside world? My big brother is a banker in Frankfurt, and he just said, "Emma, what is going on in the UK? What do you think Trump's thinking, looking across the pond?" People talk about Trump, being a bit of a wealthy, high liver, all of that stuff. Well, I mean, his country is not mired in this kind of filth and corruption that we are going through right now. How does this look to the outside world?
And then you see the trouble we're in when you look at something like Question Time from Thursday night, when you have members of the audience at Question Time wanting to blame Trump for all of this kind of horrible
It's Trump derangement
nastiness.
syndrome. It's got nothing
It
to
really
do with
is
him.
incredible. Have we got the Angela Rayner clip, by the way?
Yeah.
Here's Angela Rayner. She's on the front pages and inside the Times, getting her hair done, right? This is the woman who wants to be Prime Minister of this country. Here she is, down the barbers.
So, and what we're doing today? The usual. The usual. So we're going to do a little bit of a root touch-up with a semi-permanent colour. Really close to your natural colour, but it just gives you that little bit of depth and brightness, gives you a nice shine. And then we'll run it through to the ends a little bit because it'll add a bit of a gloss and then give you a bit of shine. Is that alright? Yeah. Cut-wise, I'm just going to do a little trim and some of your nice butterfly.
Yeah, I like it, like really feathery around the front as well.
Are we still keeping your fringe a bit longer?
Yeah.
Or is it driving you mad?
It does a little bit because of my fringe has a habit of like wanting to go like that.
Yeah, so it parts a little bit.
It needs to like, it's
We
very...
did it in a bit of a point, didn't we? So that's a bit shorter, but then it is a bit longer there.
Exactly.
So shall we keep it in that kind of shape, but just take that middle bit a little bit shorter?
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. We'll get that done. I think we should add a few more layers there, because that's going to be a bit heavy, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I like it when it's got a bit of life. I hate it, you know, when hair just sort of...
Yeah, when it goes a bit flat and heavy. But you've got a nice natural flick in it as well, haven't you? So it looks nice with the layers. Right, we'll get your colour mixed and then we'll freshen you up. Woohoo!
Yeah, that doesn't look at all rehearsed, does it?
No.
Completely natural, you know. Really fortunate for Angela Rayner that there was a photographer on hand to record that on video, and also really natural conversation that they're having. You know, you got a real natural flick about your hair. You know, have you got your fringe? Is it bothering you, or is it a bit too long? And yeah. You know, Avina says this, Mike. How would it be if you, Pooch, and Guest could wear crazy ginger wigs similar to Rayner's new hairdo? Yeah, why not? Yeah, strip it in, bring it on. We've actually now got an address. Is there any chance we can flag that up, Pooch? I know we've actually got some mail to open today. Mike's mailbox is going to become a thing on a Monday, maybe. Suite 19.6. I don't know who came up with this address. It's like the most complicated address ever. Exhibition House, Addison Bridge Place, London, W14 8XP. If you wish to send us any ginger wigs, we'd be more than happy to wear them. Incredible, really. Absolutely ridiculous what's going on in the big, wide world of politics. A couple of other stories, Emma, to talk to you before we let you go. Apparently rain has fallen on our country every single day this year. It does feel like that, doesn't it?
Well, this is actually linked. Because Ludo and I were cycling through the rain, and I'm sorry, but I need to bring him in again.
No.
We were cycling through the rain, and he said, Mummy, you know Noah's Ark?
Poor boy.
And he started
asking... Can't you get a car to put him in?
Stop it. We're not allowed to do that. He lectures me about the environment and these bloody woke schools that tell you that you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. Anyway, he said, why, you know Noah's Ark, why did God send down a deluge? And I just said to him, I think it's a punishment. We've had 40 days of rain. Some parts of the country, Exeter, Devon, Cornwall, have not had a day without rain this year at all, this year. They're under floodwater. I mean, you know, and parts of the railway, the infrastructure just literally collapsing into the sea.
As well, isn't it?
It is so depressing. Even this morning, and it wasn't raining, but it's dank and it's wet.
Yeah.
The country's falling apart. But the rain is something else.
It really is.
And it's, something is going on. And I'm not really religious, but Ludo and I have concluded that God is sending down punishment on, well, royal family, the government. We can't run the situation like this. Something's got to change.
Something's got to change. I
and
think
then
we
the
need
sun will come out.
A ray of sunshine in the form of perhaps a general election and maybe the Reform Party getting into power. But, you know, who can say? But, yeah, I mean, I take my hat off to you for cycling in this kind of weather. I don't know how you do it. Because it's bad enough for me. I come out every day and I'm depressed because my car, where I live is right by the river, is just covered in water and sort of, you know, everything's dank and cold. It's like somebody sprayed like Scotch mist all over every window. I have to put the windows down so I can see through them. It's just ridiculous.
And it's not just the rain. When you're cycling, it's not just the rain that comes out of the sky. It's the fact that one bus will go past and a wall of water will deluge you. So if I've got helmet hair or rain hair, then that's why.
You look beautiful, as you always do. Weekend was the first weekend of the Six Nations, and I was watching. I was at the England-Wales game at Twickenham, but on the earlier part of the day, it was Italy versus Scotland, and I'm not sure where it was actually. But they were it was in Italy. They were running around, and water was splashing up from their boots. That's how wet it was. So they must be having a problem in Italy as well, then, Pooch.
For the Olympics, for the Winter Olympics.
Well, no, this was the rugby game. The Winter Olympics actually makes the back pages today.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the other news.
What's her name's terrible crash, Lindsay Vonn, who's the only Winter Olympics person I've ever heard of, right? Because did she not go out with Tiger Woods at one point? I think a couple of years ago. So people sort of know who she is. But apparently she broke her leg on the downhill ski run.
All I know is
ruptured her leg or ruptured one of her cruciate ligaments as she was going downhill on skis.
Well,
in
they
just
are
14 seconds in.
I have to say, they are quite dangerous sports. Winter sports are quite dangerous. Skiing.
Well,
do you know anyone that hasn't smashed up their hips and legs?
Yesterday I had a very interesting day, which I described to you a bit earlier.
Yes.
And I was sort of in and out of the TV, and I put I was actually watching. I think I was watching Plank of the Week, but I had the TV on mute, and the Winter Olympics was on, and it was curling.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm sorry, this is not a sport.
It's ridiculous.
Right? There are people dressed as if they live next door to you, right? Wearing just ordinary clothes with ridiculous brushes, sort of hurling things down the ice. And I'm going, how is this in any way an athletic endeavour?
Curling is a ridiculous sport.
And then I switched over to the other side, and which just shows you how old I am, because there used to only be 2 places you could watch TV. And there's a women's football match on. Right? And there's literally nobody watching it. Now, I know if I was at Talk Sport now, I would be getting absolutely, pelters. Because you can't say you don't like women's sport, you have to pretend you love it.
Yeah.
You have to go, oh, it's really, really good, isn't it? The Lionesses, brilliant, they won the World Cup. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it now, and I'll never say it again. It's rubbish. It's absolute utter crap. And not only is it crap, but there wasn't anybody even watching it.
No one's watching it.
Behind the goal, there was literally nobody.
And I'm a feminist.
Right? No
women are amazing.
Watching it.
Female gymnastics is amazing. Female tennis is pretty good, although I'd still prefer to get tickets to the male tennis matches. But no, women's sport in
I had
general.
the misfortune of being at the women's final in Wimbledon last year.
It's just disappointing because you want the men's.
One-sided. It was so one-sided. It was over in about 20 minutes.
No, but for football, I'm sorry.
Sober up.
You need to watch the men's.
I mean, but just stop with the. Sorry, I'm gonna swear at one point this morning. Stop with the rubbish that women's football is really great, isn't it? I really enjoy watching it. I don't enjoy watching it. It's rubbish. It's no good. They're useless. My son, who's not very woke at all, my youngest son, says.
Well, there's a surprise.
He likes to watch it for comedy value.
Some people watch it for comedy value. Some people watch it because the women are fit or whatever. But
But it's so bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
very, very bad.
Anyway, finally, Manchester, the city of love. I don't know if you've ever been to Manchester. I don't know what
Not
you
for
think
about 20 years.
and
I don't remember it being particularly romantic. I remember it being really, really rainy.
Yeah, well, it's even more rainy than London.
Yeah.
Basically, forget Paris or Venice, is what it says in here. If you're in search of romance, it seems Manchester is the place to be. It's apparently the place that most people wish to be the most romantic city in the UK. 40% of people asked describe themselves as very romantic in Manchester. London 37%, Liverpool 36%, Leeds 35%, and Oxford down at 30%.
What a load of nonsense.
It probably is rubbish, isn't it?
Starmer, get yourself a one-way train ticket to Manchester.
Yeah, see if you can find somebody to love. Or maybe just go to Kiev, like you found. No, that's another story. Great to see you, Emma Wolf. Thank you very much indeed. We've got so much more to do, many more people to talk to. Lots of you joining the show already. We got massive, massive numbers, by the way, last week. So thank you to all of you for taking part in all of that. I will be back after the news with Edward Hughes.
The Mike Graham Show is smashing it all over the airwaves.
I've just realised I haven't paid.
Good morning. It's Friday the 6th of February. I'm Edward Hughes. Oh joy, another Monday in broken Britain. Keir Starmer's chief of staff dramatically quit yesterday because apparently nobody thought appointing Peter Mandelson, yes, that Peter Mandelson, as US ambassador was a bad idea, despite his charming little pen pal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Who could have seen that backlash coming? Truly masterful judgment from the man who promised change. Meanwhile, police are now raiding Mandelson's houses like it's 2008 all over again, and half the Labour Party is whispering, maybe Keir shouldn't be PM anymore. But don't worry, he's definitely staying. According to the ministers, he hasn't fired yet. Elsewhere, it's rained every single day this year in half the country, so enjoy your new national sport of indoor swimming. 300,000 kids might wait a decade for settled status because bureaucracy is apparently the new British value. Schools are sacking teachers despite all those shiny funding promises. And bishops are reminding everyone the cross isn't a far-right logo. Shocking revelation. Truly, what a time to be alive. Back to your soggy commute, everyone. Nothing to see here. Please like and subscribe. Laters, tigers.
Thank you very much indeed. Edward Hughes there with the news. We've got lots and lots of you having things to say. Emma, we do not want Starmer in Manchester. We've punished enough with Burnham. Bring back Super Chat, says Laura Jane. Yeah, listen, we will be bringing back Super Chats. We have for the moment, unfortunately, been, it would appear, banned from having them. But we will be getting them back soon, hopefully by, if not today, sometime tomorrow. We all knew that Mandy was bent, says Peter. Thank you very much indeed. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Loving the curling, each to their own, Mike, says Kathleen. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with curling, and I know that people will get very worked up about this because some of you love the whole idea of the curling business. And I remember the year, do you remember, I can't remember what year it was, but there was a year when the British curling women did really, really well. And they were all from Scotland. They were all kind of quite interesting and quite funny. And I remember interviewing them actually on TalkSport. But I'm sorry, I can't watch it for any length of time because it just really annoys me. You know what it's like? It's like watching your next door neighbour hanging up the washing, right? And running backwards and forwards from one part of the garden to another. And I just don't like it. And I don't really think the BBC should be broadcasting it. I don't really think the BBC should be paying for it. I don't really see why we, as the licence payers, should be forking out money, not only to cover that particular part of the Winter Olympics, but also bloody women's football, which is awful. Just rubbish. Emma Wolf's brilliant, says not Baltic, so articulate. It's a real joy listening to her. Well, Emma Wolf is brilliant, and we are very, very pleased and very flattered that she's been with us since the beginning of this whole project, if you don't mind me saying so. Loving the fast pace of the show, says Goji. It is quite fast, isn't it, today? We started off this morning without actually giving you a complete rundown of all of the newspaper headlines, so we might as well run through those now as we speak. Starmer plays his last card as McSweeney leaves number 10. Is what it says on the front page of the Telegraph. Morgan has broken, which is quite clever. That's the Daily Record up in Scotland. And that's, of course, Morgan McSweeney, who's from Northern Ireland. Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney said it was the only honourable thing to do in the wake of the Peter Mandelson scandal, which is to quit, basically throwing number 10 into turmoil. Pressure is growing on Keir Starmer to quit too. Last night, Scots MP Brian Leishman said the Prime Minister must consider following McSweeney's lead one last time. Front page of the Daily Mail. Sir Keir's Chief of Staff resigns over Mandelson's scandal. Kemi says the Prime Minister never takes responsibility for terrible choices. And their main headline says, so how long can Starmer cling on? Well, you do have to wonder, don't you? I don't think very long. Starmer battles to save Premiership after top aide McSweeney steps down, as the Financial Times. We've got Prime Minister's top aide resigns over Mandelson catastrophe in the Metro. It really is a terribly dark day for Keir Starmer. But as I said, some people have said this morning, oh, you've got to feel a bit sorry for Labour and Keir Starmer. Well, no, actually, I don't feel sorry at all. Even the Daily Mirror is desperately trying to blame it all on Morgan McSweeney, the ginger whinger. Keir Starmer's top aide quits after taking full responsibility for the Mandelson debacle, but pressure is still on the Prime Minister. Just blame me, is what they say. And the Times says the Prime Minister's top aide quits over support for Mandelson. I mean, really, just ridiculous. Shall we have another couple of clips? Because there's loads going on. How about this? Starmer talking about how he's going to bring respect back to politics.
Integrity. You made a promise when you came into Downing Street that you would restore respect to politics. Can you honestly say, hand on heart, to the British public that your government has done that?
Yes, and I'll tell you for why. When I came in, I strengthened the ministerial code. I gave more powers to the independent advisor. And in every case where there's been any issue, my ministers have referred themselves to the independent advisor and followed the advice.
You've been in trouble with that independent advisor yourself. You've had to talk about the fact you said you were going to recuse yourself from an appointment and you didn't. You've had to apologise over freebie scandals. Honestly, do you really think that your government has had more integrity than the last?
Well, as I say, I personally strengthened the ministerial code. I gave more powers to the independent advisor. And the difference now is that ministers know that if there's any issue, they must refer themselves in.
You don't think you need to be straight with people that you haven't restored the politics?
If you remember what happened before, there was no accepting of responsibility by the then Prime Minister or the government.
So you're just slightly less sleazy than the last government.
No, it's important we're accountable, and we are accountable. And that's why I strengthen the code.
I'm going to bring the respect back to politics, says Keir Starmer. I'm going to bring back the tooth fairy. I'm going to bring back the stocks so I can put you in them and throw some rotten bloody tomatoes at you, you completely useless pile of lard. Let's talk about something far more interesting, and that is, of course, free speech, which is, again, something that Keir Starmer's trying to do away with because he doesn't like free speech. He doesn't like anyone having a go at him. He doesn't like anyone saying things that he doesn't agree with. But, of course, you never know what he thinks because he keeps changing his mind. As we said earlier, he U-turns and flip-flops more than a bleeding barracuda on the quayside once you've landed it from the sea. Unbelievable. Let's talk to Graham Linehan, who I think is still over in America, if I'm not mistaken. Graham, very good morning to you, sir.
Hi, Mike. Yes, I'm in Arizona. How's it going?
Top man. How does it feel to be in the land of the free?
Great. You know, I mean, I joke about it, but it actually does kind of lighten the mood considerably when you know you're not going to get a knock on the door from the police, you know.
Right.
So I've been writing a little bit more than I was able to in the UK, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it here, and it's nice and sunny.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, you're well away from this place. I mean, it's literally going to hell in a handcart, you know, with every 24 hours that passes. I mean, I know that you'll have plenty to say, I'm sure, about Keir Starmer's wish to curtail our free speech. But how bloody useless is this government? Seriously.
Yeah. Well, you know, like the thing I always talk about with Keir Starmer is I remember when he ran, he said he was going to end the culture wars. He was going to end the Tory culture wars. And what he meant by that was he was going to hide from them and let people like Sandy Peggy fight them instead.
Yeah.
And let ordinary nurses like the Darlington nurses fight them instead because he's too much of a coward. This is how much of a coward Keir Starmer is. Not only would he not meet, you know, any of the women who have a stake in, you know, the Supreme Court decision and the single-sex spaces that Bridget Phillipson refuses to implement, you know, he kind of he basically just hid from an actual. It's not a culture war. That's a way of dismissing it. He hid from an extremely important debate around a social change. That's one of the biggest in living memory. I don't know if you can remember anything similar to people thinking there's actually more than two sexes and thinking that people can change sexes. But instead of addressing this and instead of saying, no, don't be ridiculous. Of course, women deserve fair sport. Of course, women need single-sex spaces. Of course, rapists shouldn't be in women's prisons. Instead of saying any of those very, very simple things, he hides from the debate, and ordinary women like Sandy Peggy and the Darlington nurses suffer as a result.
Yeah, absolutely right. And how sort of ridiculous is it that we have now kind of reached the point where if you don't recognise trans people for, you know, whatever it is that they want to be recognised for, that you're somehow painted.
No one knows the demands still.
No.
No one knows.
No, I mean, I was watching, I don't know if you watch, I mean, I don't watch it very often these days, but I was watching Question Time the other night. And Fiona Bruce goes to the audience and says, let's hear from the lady in the beret, right? And the lady in the beret starts talking, and you go, it's not a lady in a beret, right? It's a bloke with a cock who happens to be wearing a hat and he's got some makeup on. That doesn't make him a lady. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw that too. It was very funny. It's just very funny the way they're pretending it's normal.
Yeah,
that's one of the.
But that's the bit that I don't. That's the bit that I don't get is that they're all sitting there like, you know, the Emperor's new clothes, and they're all kind of going. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
it's
you know.
Like, are we going to have a drag queen read the news before someone will realise that this is ridiculous? You know.
I mean, I'm amazed that hasn't happened yet.
The BBC treats drag queens the way Irish Catholics used to treat priests. You know, they've created this weird kind of sacred class out of drag queens of all people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, God love them. They saw a gap in the market, And they decided, no, I won't take cocaine till 4 a.m. I'll read stories to children. That's what I'll do. And I won't change my act. I won't change my act at all. I'll get a bunch of toddlers around me and I'll tell them my name is Flowjob and Panty Bliss.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so insane, Mike. It just makes me, it's nice to actually talk to you about it because sometimes you forget to laugh about it because such an insult to women, all of this.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But it's the faux, as you say, it's the faux kind of reverence that they put on it, as if, you know.
Why?
Yeah, I know.
Why?
I know.
What? It's like cross-dressers. They're cross-dressers. Like, you know, I joined, I got sort of re-cancelled a few years ago because I joined a lesbian dating site, you know, just to show that men were doing it. And they were invading these supposedly female-only spaces. And of course, I got into trouble. And it was like, oh, okay, so you have to actually do it with a brass neck. You have to actually take it serious. You have to actually insult lesbians before you'll accept them into these spaces. It's the most bizarre double thing. I was exposing these homophobic men, and I got into trouble for it. It's just, I don't know. Every time I kind of try and sort it out in my head, I come up with nothing. It's the maddest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It really is. The whole thing is.
It is. But in terms of your own career and your ability to continue to write comedy, for which I have to say you are absolutely brilliant. I mean, Father Ted, I'm sure people say it to you all the time, but it was one of the greatest and funniest shows of all historical time. But I mean, are you in a position, or could you write something along the lines of how crazy Britain has now become? You know, the kind of the madness that has taken hold of the country. Would anybody commission you to do it, or would they pay you to do it, or do you have to find some kind of outlet on Saturn or something?
No, I don't think it'll happen in the UK because, like, apparently Olivia Colman now thinks she's a gay man. Because
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like for you know.
She does look a bit like a gay man, to be fair.
When you have people like Olivia Colman and my latest colleague Amelia Bullmore, to throw me under the bus, they talk about this issue. Like, she did it recently. She said something like, Olivia Colman, something like, I don't really know how to talk to people who aren't kind to trans people, you know? And it's like you are pretending, Olivia, not to know the issue. You're pretending not to understand the issue. You're pretending you don't know about Isla Graham in a Scottish women's jail. You're pretending you don't know about kids on puberty blockers. That's what Olivia Colman is doing. That's what all my friends have done. All my colleagues in show business have done over the last decade. They really are the worst bunch of cowards imaginable. If only a few of them spoke up, this would have all ended years ago.
Yeah, of course, and you know, and it's all for such a useless cause. You know, it's just so that they can all meet in a room somewhere and not tut at each other for having horrible, ghastly, nasty, racist, bigoted views. It's all, pardon my expression, bollocks, isn't it?
Yeah, but they called everybody racist. They called everybody bigoted. They set standards that were impossible to meet. They imported a kind of fashionable form of academia called critical race theory in from America. I mean, even in Ireland, hilariously, some Irish woke politician said that the Irish had white privilege. You know, so that's where we are. That's where we are. We have a kind of bunch of clowns in government, in Labour. Like, you know, Starmer couldn't even meet Rosie Duffield. You know, that's how much of a coward he is. You know,
he only just found out what a woman is. You know, a couple of months ago, didn't he? I mean, he didn't know before that. Before he was told.
He thought there was a percentage who had a penis. He thought there was a percentage who had a penis. This is the man who's supposed to be talking to China for us. You know. Like if he can be bamboozled by a bunch of gender studies academics, then what chance does he have of, you know, working on the world stage? You know,
I know. Xi Jinping penis You know, it's just mad, isn't it? But I mean, do you get the sense that in America, and particularly in places like Arizona, so you're away from the kind of, you know, the Washington inner circle, you're away from New York, you're away from LA, which I suspect is pretty woke. Once you go to sort of states like Arizona and you hang around in places like Phoenix and you meet ordinary Americans, in the same way that when you meet ordinary Britons, we're all pretty sensible people.
Yeah, they have no idea what I'm talking about when I tell them. They're like, what? You tell them, no, they're actually, you know, they're telling little kids they're the opposite sex, and they're giving them double mastectomies, and they're giving them drugs. Like Wes Streeting now is going to give 200, 300, I think it's 200 children puberty blocking drugs, despite the fact that a detransitioner in the US just won $2 million in damages for what they did to her, you know? Yeah. And he's still pressing ahead with it. So you have to say there comes a certain point when. Sorry, I'm blabbering on, but I'll just.
No, it's fine. This is the show for blabbering on because we don't cut you off because we don't have to, you know.
Well, I just opened a petition to try and find some kind of answerability for politicians who are putting men in women's prisons. You know, I think Nicola Coughlan and John Sweeney and all the, you know, the Biden administration who did it, and anyone who's still doing it at the moment, they should be up in front of a Human Rights Council. Yeah. You know, the Geneva Conventions bans mixed prisoners, mixing the sexes in prisoner of war camps. You know, but now we're doing it in peacetime. Yeah. You know.
Right, so and also, you're running the risk by saying that it's a bad idea of being arrested by the police, who will say you shouldn't really think that because we're going to have to turn up at the airport again and drag you off into a dark room and hit you with a rubber truncheon. I mean, do you worry that they'll still do that again?
Oh well, you know, the police have harassed me for 10 years. They're part of the reason that my reputation went through the floor, because they were following the orders of a fraudulent man who calls himself by a woman's name, you know. And they've been working for this very small group of men for about 10 years. And we're going to blow it all open. I don't know if you know this, but I actually recently crowdfunded for a private detective. And we're going to look into some of these people, and we're going to, you know, do what the police refuse to do. We're not going to treat these fraudulent con men as a sacred class. We're going to expose them for breaking the law and for harassing ordinary men and women. You know,
good for you.
So, you know, if the police won't do it, we'll do it. You know, and I can't wait to get them in court again. The police. Can't wait.
Because they're so hopeless, aren't they? And they don't do what they're supposed to do. They don't do what it says on the tin. They don't do the bidding of ordinary men and women who pay their taxes. Instead, they do the bidding of these bloody weirdos who want to criticise you and prosecute you for telling the truth. It's hard to believe.
You know, the ex-head of Mermaid, Susie Green. You know you remember the tweets I was arrested for, the jokes, you know, and the you know, just things I said when I was pissed somewhere or something like that. Right. Nothing bad at all. Susie Green did a T-shirt where she had a list of names, including mine and J.K. Rowling, and they were all crossed out, and underneath it said "dead names." And she sold that T-shirt in her shop. We reported that to the police, and they refused to do anything.
Of course,
you know.
Yeah, I know. Just ridiculous. You're getting a lot of support, as you would expect, Graham, from our listeners. Cute kittens there saying this guy's an effing hero. I'm loving it, by the way, because I've sort of similarly had my own defenestration episode from News UK. But you listen, it's quite liberating, though, to be out here now without having to worry. Because if I was sitting at Talk right now, where I used to do a breakfast show, I'd have one eye on the door because there'd be somebody standing there going like that, you know? Yeah. And they don't do that anymore because there's nobody here to do that. You know, there isn't anybody at the door, luckily. Well, at least I hope not.
Just be careful. Just be careful, Mike. Look what happened to Look what happened to Dan Lemon when he went out on his own. First thing he does is take part in the criminal invasion of a church. Just be careful, if there was any producer who was holding you back in the old days, maybe hang on to him.
Yeah, no, true. No, that's a good point. It's very well made as well. What about the crowdfund scenario? Did you have an address for that? Are you still looking for help with that?
Yeah, but we paused it at the moment because we got enough money to take care of a few things, and we're going to do that before I ask for any more money. I mean, I don't know whether you know this, Mike, but we called crowdfunds on the GC side a sort of second tax on women, because it's women who have to fight to raise money for people like the Darlington nurses,
Yes.
And so I don't like to do it flippantly. We want to make sure we get real results. But we have some stuff at the moment that could turn into something. And we'll see what the police do when presented with actual evidence,
Yeah, absolutely right. One final message for you from Mrs. Chapman, who says, Graham speaks to the majority of sane human beings. Thank you, and thanks for every time you've made me laugh. And Juice says this, is Mrs. Doyle still hiding in the living room all night just in case someone wants some tea?
Yep. Oh my God, such a long time ago now.
Go on. I've got to say that to you. Brilliant. Listen, Graham, great to see you. Have a great time in Arizona, and we'll see you maybe when you come back, come and visit us, and we'll go and have a beer.
Yeah.
All right.
And thank you, and good luck with striking out on your own. That's great news.
No worries, Graham. Thank you very much, Graham Linehan.
All right.
What a guy, funny guy. Really funny. And a man who's been through some ridiculous nonsense. Arrested by the armed police at Heathrow Airport the last time he flew back in because of a tweet that he basically said something about which people didn't like. I mean, it's just extraordinary, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. We've got loads more going on in the next hour. I can't believe it's 8:03 already. I think it's the first time check I've done. 8:02, actually, depending on which clock you look at. I've got one here that says 8:03. This one says 8:02, somewhere in between. Claire Pearsall's going to be here to talk to us through what is going on in Downing Street. Can you imagine? Remember when I said a couple of weeks ago, Keir Starmer's woken up and his sphinx is twitching? Well, it's happening again, because this, of course, is the day that he may have to resign. It's Monday, the 9th of February. Let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning. It's Friday, the 6th of February. I'm Edward Hughes. Oh, joy. Another Monday in broken Britain. Keir Starmer's chief of staff dramatically quit yesterday because apparently nobody thought appointing Peter Mandelson, yes, that Peter Mandelson, as US ambassador was a bad idea, despite his charming little pen pal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Who could have seen that backlash coming? Truly masterful judgment from the man who promised change. Meanwhile, police are now raiding Mandelson's houses like it's 2008 all over again, and half the Labour Party is whispering, maybe Keir shouldn't be PM anymore. But don't worry, he's definitely staying. According to the ministers, he hasn't fired yet. Elsewhere, it's rained every single day this year in half the country, so enjoy your new national sport of indoor swimming. 300,000 kids might wait a decade for settled status because bureaucracy is apparently the new British value. Schools are sacking teachers despite all those shiny funding promises. And bishops are reminding everyone the cross isn't a far-right logo. Shocking revelation. Truly, what a time to be alive. Back to your soggy commute, everyone. Nothing to see here. Please like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Latest Tigers indeed. Like and subscribe, please do, because we've got, again, loads and loads of you watching, but not enough people liking it or subscribing to it. So please do get along there. We've got 131,000 subscribers now, so it is creeping up, and we are getting sort of 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 a week, which is great. But please, if you haven't subscribed, it doesn't cost you any money. You just do it, and it just helps us because it helps the algorithm. You know, there's a lot of different things I could describe to you as to how it all works. But basically, the more subscribers we have, the more people see the show, because it gets kind of, I don't know, what's the word? It gets sort of, you know, promoted more on YouTube. Speaking of which, last week I did an interview with the guys from Trigonometry, Constantine Kissin, who of course is one half of the app. Francis Foster is the other half. Constantine was on Question Time a week ago last Thursday. I think we've got a little clip from it, have we? Let's have a look.
So what happened, mate?
They didn't like something that appeared on my Facebook page.
Do you know what happened with that Facebook post?
I really don't. I said I didn't put it there, and they wanted to investigate my phone. I decided it might not be the greatest idea to give my phone to a company that's been known to hack phones. They wanted access to bits of my phone that I didn't think they should be able to look at. As soon as I started talking to lawyers, they were like, don't give them your phone under any circumstances. I speak to people who are moving out of London now because London to them has become unrecognisable. It's different because it is now full of people from somewhere else. And it didn't used to be. And the difference for me with New York and London was that all of the immigration in New York was people who wanted to be American. In London and in other parts of Britain, we've got these communities which are not British. And they don't want to be British. It's hard not to notice it. Yeah, so that's the trigonometry video. Very interesting interview. I did it for about an hour, which I think you can watch now on the trigonometry channel. And in fact, I've got this from Almighty Norpa, who says, the whole channel was hidden from me by the algorithm. I learned of it from the trigonometry video. So the people who didn't know that I even had a show are now getting redirected. This is what I mean by if you like something, it gets bigger, it grows, and suddenly more and more people become aware of it. And you can also tell people about it, of course, as well. Right, can you sing a song this week too, says Lord Viking. Song of the week. Let me suggest Rainer Drops Are Falling on My Head. Yeah, well, you could do that, very possibly. I don't know, maybe we'll do some kind of liking episode so that, you know, if you like it, if you get me up to 5,000 likes, I might sing another song, something like that. We're at 3.7 thousand at the moment. Right now, though, let's talk to Claire Pearsall, former government advisor, former Downing Street bod, if you like, for want of a better word. Claire, very good morning to you.
Morning, how you doing?
I'm very well, much better, I imagine, than everybody waking up in Downing Street this morning, wondering what is going to happen in the next 24 hours, because Morgan McSweeney, all over the front pages, having decided to throw himself under the bus yesterday. It's not going to make any difference, is it, to Keir Starmer's fate?
No, it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. It's not going to save him. It's not going to make his position any more tenable. And it was only a few days ago, remember, that he had full confidence in Morgan McSweeney and he was going nowhere. And of course, you had Pat McFadden out on the media rounds yesterday saying that he was going absolutely nowhere and everything was fine. So I think we can all sense that whatever they say, the opposite is going to happen. But it is also interesting, the timing of this. Morgan McSweeney waits until sort of 2 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, so therefore he's not going to hit any of the newspapers until the beginning of the week. So nobody's going to have that questioning on a media round, but all the ministers that have been out there now look extremely stupid.
Well, they do. McFadden, not least, because, I mean, he was on Laura Kunsberg yesterday morning show, a Philip's show as well on Sky, probably on Camilla Tominey's show, basically saying there's no point in Morgan McSweeney resigning. Why would he do that? There's no reason for him to do it. And then he does it, making McFadden look like an idiot.
And they always do this. And we saw this, funny enough, with Boris Johnson. You had minister after minister going out on the media round saying absolutely everything was fine. And then people started dropping like flies. So you always have to be very, very careful as a minister, because your reputation is now going to be absolutely screwed by the words that you're spouting on behalf of the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister's meeting with Labour MPs today, I think, will be very interesting. You can imagine there's going to be a lot of very angry people. It's not going to be televised. The country isn't going to see this. But of course, all of those disgruntled MPs will have WhatsApp groups, and those WhatsApps will come out. So they're a leaky bunch of people, MPs, and inevitably we will get details of this coming out this afternoon. So I can imagine that we're going to get some pretty salacious gossip coming through probably lunchtime-ish into the afternoon, and that's going to take the headlines for the next day.
Yes. And so, I mean, in terms of what it's like inside the sort of bunker mentality of Downing Street today, see if you can paint a picture for us of, you know, what it's like. Because there must be people kind of hiding from each other, you know, not coming out of their offices, not wanting to run into people in the corridor, you know, all kind of, you know, diving for cover, trying to cover them, you know, trying to make sure that they don't get the blame, whatever it is that's going on, not, you know, not make you sort of, you know, avoiding the gaze of somebody that they work with, all of that. It must be mad.
It is. It's absolutely mental when you think about it. Downing Street looks such a tiny place from the outside, but it's an absolute rabbit warren of corridors. and small offices and basements and the garden and everywhere else. Now, I was based at the Home Office, so I had a perfect excuse to go hide somewhere. The Home Office is massive and it's based a few minutes from Parliament. But it is quite interesting how people's diaries suddenly get filled up. You were trying to get hold of somebody, you had a meeting booked in, and then they're not available. And then you sort of see them in a coffee shop about half a mile down the road, and they're all hiding out. So it's always a good thing to do on days like this, is just to go walk around Whitehall and Westminster and find where these people are. You will spot them. They'll be sitting in corners, huddling over a phone, looking a little bit dejected, normally at this time of year with a bobble hat on. So you can spot them a mile off. And that's always the way. They're never where you expect them to be. But Portcullis House is always a good place to go. You'll see them looking furtively around at other MPs and other special advisors, and you'll find the meetings happening.
Yeah, right. Because, I mean, Patrick Maguire this morning in The Times says this. Sir Keir Starmer has never led the Labour Party without Morgan McSweeney. He would never have become leader of the Labour Party without Morgan McSweeney. Everything he has done as leader of the Labour Party has been driven to varying degrees by Morgan McSweeney. The politics and the people were those of Morgan McSweeney. And so people have said this to me in the past, that, you know, without Morgan McSweeney, Keir Starmer really doesn't have any ideology. He doesn't really have a brain. He doesn't really have a heart. He doesn't really have a soul. He doesn't have a political kind of instinct in his body. Morgan McSweeney was everything to him. So now without him, what does he do?
Well, I mean, I think he sort of crumples into a heap, but I think we ought to sort of stop and reflect on this a moment, that Morgan McSweeney was incredibly good at getting Keir Starmer into a position where he could win an election.
Yeah.
What he wasn't very good at were the politics of dealing with people, with dealing with the country, with dealing with policies and how to govern. So it's all very well to have a almost student politics mentality of we're going to go out there and win this. Well, fine. What are you going to do with it once you've got it? And that's where their problems have come in. You can't command the majority that you've got because you don't understand how to deal with people that don't think like you. And in the Labour Party, they still have a breadth of opinion as to how left or right they want to be. If you can't manage those people, how are you going to manage the expectations of a country that has put you into number 10 and given you a mandate to govern? And you just sort of stand there going, well, this is what I think, but only if Morgan McSweeney agrees it. So I think that he's going to really fall apart. He's now put two people in as joint chief of staff, which is, I think, just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
They were deputy chiefs previously. And you just sort of think, well, where is the sort of the outside influence? Where are the people saying, do you know what the word on the street is, Prime Minister? Because he's now so far removed from it, he doesn't get it.
Right, exactly right. And presumably there'll be loads of other people inside of the Downing Street machine who are only there because McSweeney gave them a position, who will now be looking around going, crikey, what do I do now?
You can imagine that the pages of social media pages like LinkedIn are going to be very busy with people scurrying around trying to find a way out, because I think that they realise their sort of number is up. They can't continue like this. And it's not going to stop at one person going. We will see a number of people going. You saw it with Dominic Cummings, and you just sort of watch the domino effect that has. Because once that linchpin goes, those people who were appointed by Morgan McSweeney, were given jobs probably above their ability, are now going to be under scrutiny, and they're not going to survive that. So we're going to see a number of these over the next week. But these are names that we aren't going to know very much about.
No, quite. And of course, one of the things that when a news event like this happens is that everybody immediately forgets what happened the day before. And it was only on Friday that we were all kind of staring at the screen, watching police going inside two houses owned or certainly occupied by Peter Mandelson. Interestingly enough, the one in London, said to be worth anywhere between 8 and 12 million quid, may or may not have been bought by Jeffrey Epstein, may or may not have been bought by money that Epstein gave to Mandelson. And Mandelson's name has kind of disappeared. It's almost as though Mandelson has kind of been the mastermind behind McSweeney going, because his name is no longer being really mentioned on the front pages.
And I think that's probably what Keir Starmer hoped would happen, that everybody would forget that this has all come about because of Peter Mandelson. But also, I don't think people are going to forget. I mean, I think that this is just a blip. A lot of people outside politics probably never heard of Morgan McSweeney previously anyway.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, oh, yeah, he was the bloke who was responsible for Mandelson. So I think it's only a temporary pause. We're going to hear that name more and more. People aren't going to forget what has happened that easily. So you can put out this little small distraction for a Monday morning, but I think it isn't going to go away. It is too big and important. And I think we need to give the great British public a little bit of credit for actually saying, just a minute, we've had too many distraction scandals before this. We're wise to your tricks, government, and they'll keep looking for those details.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a little clip, actually, that I haven't seen yet, so forgive me for not knowing exactly what it says, but it's Alastair Campbell, former spin doctor, of course, to Tony Blair, former real part, massive part of the whole Tony Blair, Mandelson, Brown project, New Labour. Let's have a look at what he had to say yesterday.
Hello and welcome to Arrest Is Politics Live with me, Alastair Campbell. And it's me, Alastair Campbell, today without Rory Stewart, because Rory's got other things to do. We'll be talking about all of this stuff sometime through the week, but I kind of felt I had to get a lot of this off my chest. Members, Arrest Is Politics members will know that I wrote a note this week saying I'd been having sleepless nights, and I still am. And my sleepless nights, they usually happen when I'm anxious or angry or depressed or confused. And there's so much out of this Epstein scandal to make me feel all of the above. And it is on so many levels almost impossible to process, both personally and politically. So let's start with angry. Angry at the content and the context of Jeffrey Epstein, which is so disgusting on so many levels. And frankly, it gets to the point where you can't even read any more of it. I've heard some MPs, some Tories, some Labour, Nigel Farage, few journalists as well, who've called the Peter Mandelson situation the biggest scandal of the century. And I saw a brilliant response to that from the journalist Marina Hyde, who also, as you know, presents The Rest Is Entertainment. She said it's not even the biggest scandal of the scandal. And so I think we have to understand that. It is still, when we think about it, this is about abuse, it's about trafficking, it's about the attitudes to women of so many rich and powerful men. And she's right about that, and she's right that it's still not at the centre of this debate.
So, Alastair Campbell, chief spin doctor in hell. I think if the devil had a spin doctor, he'd hire Alastair Campbell, wouldn't he? Yeah. He's trying to make out that this isn't a big scandal, that Peter Mandelson being wrapped up in the whole Epstein saga is literally like a little speck on the whole Epstein saga. You know, yeah, fair enough. There's plenty of other stories around. I mean, there's Andrew this morning apparently leaking, sensitive documents to Epstein within minutes of getting them as trade envoy to the government. But I mean, come off it, Alastair. I mean, I watched the two episodes of The Rest Is Politics last week. And Rory Stewart and Alastair Campbell, who both spent an awful lot of time in the company of Peter Mandelson. And in fact, Peter Mandelson was interviewed some years ago talking about how they used to go on holiday together, in the sort of the post-Blair years, so relatively recently, was basically talking about Mandelson as though he was somebody that he didn't know and that he'd never met. And they were kind of talking about him in the abstract, you know?
Yeah, he was. And you think, don't be so disingenuous. And I think the moment that someone like Alastair Campbell says, there's nothing to see here, you need to be looking elsewhere, you know full well that there is much more to come. There are much more damaging details to come out. And I'm not going to take any lectures off Alastair Campbell, the man of the 45-minute warning of weapons of mass destruction. I mean, we haven't forgotten that. We know full well that he is a spin doctor of all spin doctors.
Nearly 15,000.
And we're just not going to buy what his excuses are these days. So trying to point us in the other direction, I think, just means that we'll keep on looking a little bit closer.
Yeah, absolutely right. And in terms of the sort of the longevity now of Starmer's reign, if you like, if you want to call it that, what would be your sort of prediction over the next 4? I mean, my feeling is that he might be gone by like Wednesday at this rate.
Do you know what? I was thinking about this, and last week you and I had a discussion, and I thought Starmer will hold on until after the May elections.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure now. I have a nasty feeling that we'll see something by the end of the week. And I'm not normally one for sort of knee-jerk reactions in that respect, but it feels very unstable. All of the messaging that's coming out is pretty bad. You know, you hear that he's going to be strong and he's going to have these meetings and he's going to carry on. But on the other hand, you're hearing he's depressed. He looks like he wants to burst into tears every time I've seen a picture of him recently. So I don't think he's going to last all that long. And I think perhaps by the end of the week, we're going to have some real news to go over.
Right. And we're told, I think, he's going to make some kind of statement this morning, Starmer, which might be, I'm off.
Can you imagine? I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. I really wouldn't. Are we all going to be now on podium watch, which is the thing that gets us all excited whenever there's a podium outside number 10? I mean, I'm in Kent today, so I'd rather he didn't do anything, because to get up to London is always going to be a bit of a rush.
I think you should get your car down to the station car park and book your space, because I think you're going to be on call, I think, for most of the week.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the horse is going to have to wait. She's going to have to look forward to a day in the field if anything like this happens. I'm not riding.
Absolutely right. Great to see you, Claire. Thanks very much indeed. Claire Pearsall there, giving us her view on the way things are going. And things are not going well. Let's face it. We've got also a poll going out there for those of you who want to vote on it. Please do. There's lots of you on the live chat doing exactly that. But I can tell you what. Who did more damage is the question that we've been asking you today. And more damage to the United Kingdom over the past century. Was it Tony Blair? Was it the European Union? Was it Keir Starmer? Or was it the Luftwaffe? Bizarrely, the Luftwaffe are last. Okay, because most of you think that Keir Starmer at 26% has done an awful lot of damage to the country. The EU, not so much at 9%, but most of you believe Tony Blair at 64% did more damage to this country than the Luftwaffe did during the Second World War. Absolutely extraordinary. This one from Jim. Closed door, podium empty. We wait for the Prime Minister, and then Lammy comes out. Jackie says, morning, Mike, great show. I don't think Keir Starmer is going anywhere. In a strange way, I hope he doesn't, because the alternative is far worse than we could ever imagine. Well, see, I disagree with you on that. And I've said this many, many times. And we're going to try and go back and find some of the things that I said last year. Because even from July of 2024, since what happened in August when the Southport riots kicked off because of the murders in Southport of those three lovely, beautiful little girls, I said Keir Starmer is definitely not going to last out the session that he thinks he's going to last out. He's definitely not going to get to 2029 when the next electoral cycle supposedly kicks in. He's definitely not going to last throughout the course of the next several years. And I said probably there will be an election held around about 2027. And that's kind of how it's looking, right? Because at the moment you've got Angela Rayner on the front pages of the Mail this morning, ready for her close-up on the steps of number 10. She's actually gone to all the trouble of making sure, and you can look at the different page ones there, and you can see her on the front of the Daily Mail. Look who's ready for her close-up on the steps of number 10, getting her hair done. Luckily, she managed to have a photographer in tow, and luckily, amazingly, she was there talking to the hairdresser, and the hairdresser's going, oh, what do you think we can do with your fringe, and how you've got some lovely, natural wave going through your hair, and all this kind of stuff. And Angela Rayner would be a disaster as the Prime Minister of this country. She's not far off being a Marxist. She's a massive, massive fan of unionisation. She's a massive fan of making the employer responsible for everything. A massive fan of clamping down on any possibility that you could run a business and have any authority over the people that work for you. And that, I'm afraid, is going to be the end for people who run businesses if she gets in charge. But anyway, we'll come back to all of that. Let's talk to Jasmine Birtles, who's here with us. She is, of course, from Money Magpie. Jasmine, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
So, I didn't think we would be discussing the possibility that Keir Starmer might be resigning today, but I think we are going to discuss the possibility that Keir Starmer might be resigning today. And if he does, and if he doesn't, what are the markets going to say about it?
Well, yes, very good point. Markets don't like uncertainty. They don't like poor judgment. They don't like poor leadership. So I think, to be honest, whatever happens, I think the markets aren't going to like it, because if Keir Starmer goes today or this week, and I like you, I feel that he could go this week, to be honest, because what is there to keep, frankly, now? But that means uncertainty, and I think the markets, like you and I, like your viewers, are thinking, but who would replace him? I think for the moment, although he's not popular with anybody, as far as I can tell, certainly not with his own party, the fact that he could go, and there could be, as you say, possibly Angela Rayner. The entire cabinet needs a good nose blow. I think they've all got bugged up noses.
They have, haven't they?
Yes. But if it could be her, David Lammy, what are the possibilities? I mean, Wes Streeting was punted at one point, but hasn't he been mentioned in the Epstein files or so? And he's some sort of connection there.
Well, I think his problem is that he's going to be revealed to have been sending what might be considered to be rather indiscreet messages to Peter Mandelson once all these WhatsApp messages get published. And I think he was one of the great supporters of Mandelson, and I think he was one of the few people who actually thought it was a really, really good idea to put him in charge. And knowing how indiscreet Mandelson is, we can only assume that there might well be some quite horrible messages and sort of Mickey takes of the Prime Minister in those, those bits of correspondence. So I think Streeting is keeping his head down, if you'll pardon the expression.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not going to comment on that one, but yeah, no, absolutely. Because he was the great white hope. Andy Burnham is nowhere.
Right.
I mean, really nowhere. And with Andy Burnham, even there, you think that there was this sort of assumption that if he stood for Parliament, if the other MP got out of the way, that he would get in. Well, not necessarily. It's possible that where he's standing, Reform could get in. I really can't think of anybody else in the Labour Party, really, literally, the whole party could stand instead of who could be a credible replacement. Can you think of anybody?
Well, the horrifying aspect of all of this, and I'm sorry to have to break this to you at 8:27 in the morning, is that technically speaking, David Lammy is the Deputy Prime Minister. And so when Starmer does turn the corner and walk back inside Downing Street having resigned, in charge of the country will be David Lammy.
Yeah, and the markets really, really will not like that. And already things are very jittery. I mean, you and I have spoken about this before, but I mean, we talk about the markets. The whole thing is on a knife edge already, and something I'm talking about a lot at the moment is the fact that fiat currencies, dollars, pounds, euros, yen, etc., are dying, and they're dying quite fast, led by the dollar. The dollar is going. And this is why gold and silver, and to an extent Bitcoin, are gold and silver particularly. And there is, there's a sense in America that things could fall apart at any moment, particularly if AI, if the tech bubble, and it seems to be quite a bubble at the moment, if that bursts. And in this country, with the bond market, actually in America as well, the bond market globally it seems to me to be a very big bubble at the moment. So it's not going to take that much to make everything collapse into a crash. Really, not that much. There are many aspects of the world economy that are really concerning at the moment. Now, whether Keir Starmer leaving would, affect the world is another thing. I think it would affect the UK stock market, certainly. Particularly, as you say, if David Lammy was there at the head, what a thought! What an absolute thought! David Lammy or Angela Rayner. It doesn't bear thinking about, honestly.
No, but at least I suppose with Angela Rayner, what you might say is that she doesn't completely contradict herself every time she opens her mouth. She's always kind of been the same person that she was, if you like, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. But we've got a list here. We played one of these clips out already, but let's play the second one out. And this is Keir Starmer's U-turns, things that he used to believe that he now doesn't believe. Have a look.
We've had a referendum. We shouldn't have another referendum on the same issue. Whatever the outcome, there's got to be a referendum. Remain should be an option, and the Labour Party will campaign for Remain. We have left the EU. There's no case for going back to the EU. I oppose HS2 on cost and on merit. Every Labour leader since then, including me, I took over in 2018, has supported HS2, and we do support it. I'm not going to rank Jeremy Corbyn. He's a colleague, he's a friend, and he's led us through some really difficult times in the Labour Party.
He was never a friend.
No, not in the sense that we were, went to visit each other or anything like that. Trans rights are human rights, and I support the right to self-identification. We don't think that self-identification is the right way forward.
I don't think you can simply do away with any assessment.
And those assessments are appalling. And I would scrap them, just like Becky would. Scrap the assessments, scrap the sanctions, scrap universal credit.
Freedom of movement will have to.
Wow.
You just can't. Even you couldn't make that stuff up. It's so just absolutely black and white. Over here, yeah, that's black. Over here, that's white. Freedom of movement, yes. Freedom of movement, no. It's unbelievable.
It really is. It really is. And I mean, nobody who flip-flops to that degree can be the leader of anything.
No.
And this is the thing that I feel about with Mandelson. I mean, I did a reel just recently about why has Tony Blair not being mentioned with the whole Mandelson debacle. And I do honestly feel that Keir Starmer's there because he does what he's told. At any point, he'll do what he's told. He has no views of his own. He has no principles of his own. So Tony Blair, I think, is one of the powers behind this throne. And Tony Blair's saying, do this. He goes, oh, all right, then, get Mandelson in. Oh, all right, then. And Mandelson's telling him, do that, do that, do that. And he's just somebody who will do what he's told. He's just a puppet, it seems. And after a while, you just get, as a voter, you just think, really, seriously? We're supposed to be led by this puppet? Come on, we can't be bothered with this anymore.
No, I know, absolutely right. And this is the thing, part of me can't quite believe that we ever allowed him to become Prime Minister, never mind, watching him now sort of fall into a fire of despair. And we've actually got a poll going on at the moment, Jasmine, in which the people of the Independent Republican Mike Graham believe Tony Blair has done more damage to this country than the Luftwaffe, which I think is right.
Absolutely true. Well, I think it's now understood that one of the really terrible things that Blair did when he was in power was he completely changed the institutions. We've got problems with the judiciary because of him. We've got problems with the civil service because of him. He completely changed the whole structure of the way that the country works, so that when we had the Conservatives, in real time, in real terms, we still had Labour, we still had socialism, because the institutions were created on a socialist basis. So it didn't matter who you'd got in power, allegedly, in Westminster. The fact, as far as most people are concerned, is that we still had socialism.
Yeah. Absolutely right. I mean, I won't be mourning the end of Keir Starmer's, period of being Prime Minister, because I think he's been absolutely hopeless, useless. He's curtailed our freedoms. He's mismanaged the government. He's completely altered the tax rules in this country and made it much more difficult for people to make money. Inevitably, I suppose, if he does go, whether it's today or tomorrow or Wednesday, Rachel Reeves goes with him. And that's an even bigger problem, isn't it, for who gets to be the Chancellor?
Well, absolutely. And, there again, you look around and think, who is there? There's, I'm trying to think his name, Darren Cernak.
Darren Jones, yeah, but isn't he a bit too closely aligned to Starmer? I mean, he's more or less Starmer's kind of right-hand man.
Yes, well, absolutely. That is one of the issues. But then, bad though they are, the alternatives are worse. I think one of the problems that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves particularly have had is that they do see basically what they need to do. They realise they need to make cuts, for example, but they have backbenchers who are economically illiterate and are holding them back at all times. So there's Rachel Reeves having to placate the bond markets, which are powerful, and at the same time placate a huge number of backbenchers who have no clue how to run a budget. I mean, goodness knows how they run their home budget, because all they think of is, just keep spending, and the money, just tax the rich. What rich? The rich are leaving. And they don't get that. They don't care. They just say spend, and they don't care about the fact of where the money's going to come from.
No, exactly right. Absolutely incredible stuff. Hard to imagine that this is where we are, but we are here. I mean, we really are. Jasmine, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sure we'll probably speak to you later in the week after Starmer quits, which I think he's going to do, I would say, within the next 48 hours, probably. I mean, it could happen today. The belief is that he's going to make some kind of statement today. And I wonder, having sort of taken in what he thinks is the reaction to Morgan McSweeney leaving as chief advisor to Prime Minister, basically the conscience of the Prime Minister, the man who is the brain of the Prime Minister, for want of a better word. I think he's gone. I think he's a busted flush. What is the point of Keir Starmer? What has ever been the point of Keir Starmer? That would be the question I would ask you. This is, of course, the home of common sense. It's the true and real home of common sense. It's the Mike Graham Show. Coming up after this, we'll have some news with Edward Hughes.
The Conservatives are now the party of high tax. On their watch, the tax burden is the highest in 70 years. I worked as an economist at the Bank of England before entering politics. I know what it takes to run a successful economy.
Good morning, it's Friday the 6th of February. I'm Edward Hughes. Oh joy, another Monday in broken Britain. Keir Starmer's chief of staff dramatically quit yesterday because apparently nobody thought appointing Peter Mandelson, yes, that Peter Mandelson, as US ambassador was a bad idea, despite his charming little pen pal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Who could have seen that backlash coming? Truly masterful judgment from the man who promised change. Meanwhile, police are now raiding Mandelson's houses like it's 2008 all over again, and half the Labour Party is whispering, maybe Keir shouldn't be PM anymore. But don't worry, he's definitely staying. According to the ministers, he hasn't fired yet. Elsewhere, it's rained every single day this year in half the country, so enjoy your new national sport of indoor swimming. 300,000 kids might wait a decade for settled status because bureaucracy is apparently the new British value. Schools are sacking teachers despite all those shiny funding promises. And bishops are reminding everyone the cross isn't a far-right logo. Shocking revelation. Truly, what a time to be alive. Back to your soggy commute, everyone. Nothing to see here. Please like and subscribe. Laters, tigers.
I'm so laughing at the ticker underneath the bottom of the page there, on the bottom of the screen, I should say. Angela Rayner gets her hair done is a headline. It is, because that's what they're doing. She's on the front page of the Daily Mail. Look who's ready for a close-up on the steps of number 10. Because they're all circling now like sharks. That's what they do. Politicians are not to be trusted, not to be in any way relied upon for the truth, not to be relied upon for any kind of, solidarity with one another. They're all now smelling death around old Keir Starmer. He walks past them and the stench of death is following him around. Because he's done. He's completely and utterly buggered. Not for the first time. Anyway... sorry. Let's go and talk to Lucy Connelly, who's here with us, because last week we got the news. Lucy, very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
We got the news last week, Lucy, that as I suspected, you were singled out by not only the CPS, but also by the Prime Minister and by the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, or Harmer as I like to call him. Let's have a look at Toby Young, Lord Toby Young, who had this to say about your situation.
I'm outside Lord Hermer's office at the Ministry of Justice. The reason I'm here is because we recently learnt, as a result of a subject access request, that Lucy Connelly's prosecution for a tweet in the immediate aftermath of the Southport attack was fast-tracked by the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, and that meant securing Lord Hermer, the Attorney General's signature in time, because he has to consent to the prosecution of anyone for stirring up racial hatred. But interestingly, the Crown Prosecution Service weren't nearly so efficient when it came to the prosecution of Mo Chara of Kneecap. They were a day late in securing the Attorney General's consent to his prosecution under the Terrorism Act, and as a result, the trial collapsed. I think it's pretty clear where the state's priorities lie.
Apparently Edward Hughes got the date wrong, by the way. Somebody's just pointed that out to me. Tiggs. Sorry about that. We'll fix that and we'll find him, as we always do when he makes a mistake. Lucy Connelly's here with us, though. Lucy, I always knew, right, absolutely instinctively, that you had been, one, given bad advice by your solicitor, two, probably had been given bad advice because they deliberately wanted to mislead you, and three, you were punished over and above any normal punishment that you would have otherwise got for what it was that you were supposedly guilty of. I mean, how do you feel about that now, knowing that that's exactly what happened?
I mean, I'm not shocked or surprised. I mean, all it's done is confirm, like you said, what we all any sensible person thought.
Yeah.
And it makes me laugh because you've got people, arguing, the lefties saying, well, it was done by the book, that the Attorney General gets involved on a Section 19 of the public order. That might well be the case. But firstly, there's so much to unpack in that, isn't there? Firstly, why they're charging me on a Section 19 when other people are getting charged on things like malicious communications, things like that.
Right.
They charged me on a Cat 1A, which they never had the evidence to do so. They just pulled that one out of thin air. And that's what carried the higher sentence, actually, the Cat 1A part of it. And then why are they trying to push through an emergency sign-off by the Attorney General on someone like me on a terrorist? All the sign-offs and the emails from the CPS to the police are people in the terrorist department at the CPS. So it begs the question, doesn't it? Why on earth am I being rushed through as a terrorist on some emergency application so that they can remand me? Because it has always been my opinion that I was illegally remanded, and that was done on purpose so that I couldn't seek decent legal advice, so that my only option was to go with the duty brief and all of these things. You'll hear people refer to it as a kangaroo court. I've always believed that, and this just proves it, doesn't it? And from my point of view, it's a kind of like, well, for all you people saying that, I'm talking rubbish and I'm a criminal, this just proves what we've all been saying all along.
Yeah, absolutely right. And does it leave you anywhere to go, do you think? I mean, have you spoken to any legal advisors or lawyers who might say to you, what you might want to do is take the government on and maybe sue them for, wrongful, not so much wrongful arrest, but sort of, what you might call malicious prosecution?
I mean, lots of people have said that to me, but the way things are, Mike, and the current government, I just think I'd be, pissing in the wind, for want of a better word. I obviously had my appeal back in May 2025.
Yeah, I know, it's hard to remember, isn't it?
I know, and I should have won that appeal hands down. There was a really, really good case for me to get my sentence shortened. There was a really good appeal. People need to also remember that when you are granted an appeal, it has to go through a judge first, and that judge looks at your case and decides whether you think that you have ground. You don't just automatically get an appeal because you want one. Right. You have to have grounds, and a judge had agreed that I had the grounds. And then I had 3 Labour activist judges that sat there rolling their eyes and tutting and basically telling me that I'm a liar and my solicitor definitely wasn't, which I can prove. Again, I can prove otherwise.
Yeah.
So again, I should have won that appeal, and I should have walked from court back in May. But they came up with. I mean, as soon as they said, "Oh, we're not giving you an answer today. We need further time to deliberate this," I knew what the answer was going to be.
Right.
So I just think I've already tried to kind of appeal my sentence, and it was a complete waste of time and money. And it's money, Mike. These things cost so much money, and I'm in a fortunate position where people have helped me. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do it. But yeah, I just think while this government's in power, while the courts and the judiciary are clearly politically motivated, it's just pointless. It's a waste of time and it's a waste of money. Maybe further down the line, it's something we can look at. But while the judges and the courts are being so influenced by this government, what's the point? Yeah,
no, I get that. I mean, you must be feeling a little bit of sort of schadenfreude this morning, though, which for those of you who don't know the word, it's a German word for kind of, happiness about somebody else's misfortune. You must be smiling at the state of Keir Starmer's Downing Street hours. He wakes up this morning, as I said earlier, with his sphincter twitching, wondering how much longer he's got to go before he gets kicked out.
Oh yes, I've got a spring in my step today, Mike.
Absolutely right. And I mean, do you think? I mean, I'm honestly, I'm at the point now where I'm thinking, when I hear he's going to get up and make a statement this morning, I'm not sure that's not going to be the end of it. He might just come out and go, I'm off, I'm done.
I think he's gone by the end of the week, if not hours. And for everyone saying, oh, yeah, but we're going to get someone equally, if not worse. Yeah, we are. We are going to get somebody equally as bad or worse. But my theory behind that is let's pick them off one by one. And I hope their government comes down like a pack of cards. I really do.
Yeah, I think so. And, let's face it, if it all goes so badly wrong that they don't really have anywhere else to go, we might end up with the general election, at which point, there's an opportunity for reform. Nigel Farage this morning in the papers saying he's ready. Last week there was a piece saying that, he's only half ready, but he's now fully ready. And if there was to be an election in the coming weeks, I think, and months, reform would win it, wouldn't they?
Oh, definitely. And I think, is anybody ever ready for an election to take over government? I mean, I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Nobody can do any worse than this government as is currently doing, or cause as much damage as this government has done in a year.
Yeah.
And that's coming from somebody that voted, Conservative all my life and is really annoyed with what the mess they made of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Labour exasperated the situation and made it a whole lot worse. So is reform and Nigel ever going to be ready? On paper, probably not. But I believe that if there was a general election tomorrow, I believe that reform would win, and I believe that they'd do their best that they possibly could to fix things.
Yes. Well, I mean, we can be bloody sure that having looked back at what happened in July of 2024, this government was certainly not ready, despite the fact that they said they were ready to govern, despite the fact that Keir Starmer said how, every single department was ready to go, whether it was the Home Office, the Foreign Office, the Treasury, everybody was ready to govern. And it turned out none of them were ready to govern. I mean, bloody Sue Gray, right, who was the first Chief of Staff, whose task was to plan the first 100 days, only lasted 93 of them and then got fired. So it was completely hopeless from the beginning. And I just think that, hopefully the people of this great country of ours will learn the lesson, the hard, tough lesson. Don't ever put Labour in power again because they don't know what they're doing.
No, I agree. Look at last time, didn't they leave their office with a note saying there's no more money, good luck? What the last time they were in, it wasn't good news, was it? Did the Conservatives do a good job? In my opinion, no, they didn't. There's lots of things that they did that I'm fuming with them for, but I certainly didn't get, for me on a personal level, anything that ever horrendous that's happened to me and my family in our lifetime. Labour government have been in charge. It was the Labour government in charge when, the NHS killed my son and then tried to cover it up. It was the Labour government that, where I ended up inside away from my family. So for me, Labour aren't good news.
They really aren't. And I mean, in terms of your life and how you're getting on now, I mean, you're a very resilient woman. You've come out of the other side of it seemingly, not too badly damaged by it, which would have ruined an awful lot of people's, psyche. You went into prison. Instead, you've kind of come out almost a new woman in a way. You've got ideas about prison reform. You've spoken to female prisoners and kind of supported them. What would you say now if you were able to say anything to Keir Starmer on his demise, on the way, just before he buggers off, frankly, from Downing Street? You got a message for him?
I'd say calm as a bitch.
I love it. That is brilliant. Fantastic. Listen, Lucy, great to see you. Thank you so much. And,
thanks, Brian.
I mean, we'll have a glass of champagne, no doubt, when he puts out the old podium.
Party at mine if he's gone by the end of the week.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Calm as a bitch. What the quote of the day from Lucy Connelly. Thank you very much indeed. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. We've got so much to do still. Alan Miller's here from the Together Declaration. He's going to talk to us about what he would probably be doing when Keir Starmer hands in his resignation, which we could be seeing as early as today, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely extraordinary stuff. How long can Starmer cling on is what it says on the front page of the Daily Mail. Shall we have another look at some of his flip-floppery? Let's go back to the first version of his he said, she said. Shall we do it?
Yeah. I want to pay tribute to Jeremy Corbyn, who's a friend as well as a colleague.
You wouldn't call Jeremy Corbyn a friend?
No. We have to make the case for freedom of movement. We don't want open borders. Freedom of movement has gone and it's not coming back.
Cutting off power, cutting off water, Sakir?
Well, I think that Israel does have that right. I was not saying that Israel had the right to cut off water, food, fuel or medicine. Wounded by the media, the Sun in this city, a hurt for this city. And I certainly won't be giving any interviews to the Sun during the course of this campaign.
Do you write an article for some newspaper the other day? Surely that's not going to gain you any support across the Northwest.
Would you write for them again, Sakir?
I would do, yeah.
Can you guarantee that under your leadership, the 2019 Labour commitments to nationalise water, energy, rail, the Royal Mail, they'll all be in Labour's next election manifesto?
I've made that commitment.
Will you nationalise the big six energy companies, yes or no?
No.
No, you will not.
By the Home Secretary was the wrong decision, and I think it was a rushed decision.
In 2019, you said stripping her of her British citizenship was the wrong decision. She's lost her.
Yeah, we are back. You know, it's just literally one contradiction after another. Keir Starmer literally can't lie straight in bed. You ask him at 1 o'clock, what do you think about, I don't know, rejoining the European Union? I think we should rejoin the European Union. You ask him at 2 o'clock, no, we voted to leave the European Union and we absolutely won't be going back. Ask him about, I don't know, do you believe in assisted dying? For example, Alan Miller's going to talk about that coming up in a little while. Yes, I do. I'd like to have. I'd like to be able to kill Angela Rayner, actually, but obviously I can't do that. That would be wrong. And then you ask him another hour later. He's not in favour of assisted dying at all. You might have just noticed, by the way, that's our new postal address. For those of you who would like to send things to us, please do try and keep it clean as well. Suite 19.6, Exhibition House. Oh, look. We've got Mike's postcode. Look at this. I've got two. This is great. It's like Christmas, right? I'm going to open all this in a minute. Here's the address. Suite 19.6. I don't know who came up with this. Exhibition House, Addison Bridge Place, London, W14 8XP. And that is, of course, the United Kingdom. I'm going to save the big one till last. And I'm going to open the slightly smaller one. It's come from Amazon. We can have a look and see what it is. Oh, I'm glad I thought it was something rude. He checked. Oh, look. Champagne and Prosecco stopper. That's brilliant. Because, of course, you know, when we do Plonk of the Week, every now and again, we need to put these stoppers. These are lovely, by the way. They're brass stoppers. No messing about here. For use with most bottles of bubbly, it says. Bouchon à champagne. Oh, that's another language. So I've got 3 of those. That's great, isn't it? Thank you. Who sent these in? Does anybody know? I'm not sure it's got a return. No, that's our address. There's no card. So whoever it was that sent in the champagne stoppers, thank you very much indeed. Could you maybe identify yourself as one of the 15,000 plus people currently watching the show? By the way, can I just say, this show is becoming so successful, we might have to start doing it in a stadium, right? So 15,000 people watching. There is no other breakfast show out there which has this kind of audience on YouTube, right? Not one. And in fact, not one of them even gets about 5,000. Never mind 15. It's extraordinary. Thank you so much. Right, we're going to try and open this big one now, which, I don't know what it is. It comes from Hampshire, according to the return address. Do forgive me for making such a lot of noise. I hope that if you're listening to this in the car, it's not making your ears burn or anything. Hey? Oh, right. Oh, we've got a Stanley knife. This is where you end up bloodying yourself live on TV. Here we go. Okay, that's gone. That's all right. Let's got that out of the way. Let's see. Bit more of this. I'm hopeless at this, by the way, so do talk amongst yourselves while I'm trying to open this. This could go on for a while. Yeah, no, it's fine. The comments can go up. I can probably read them as we go. Karma's a bitch, Starmer. What a great quote, by the way, from Lucy Connelly. So you've got anything to say to Keir Starmer as he prepares his resignation speech. She just said, Karma's a bitch. Brilliant. Because we now know, as she declared, and as Toby Young has said, we now know that basically, not only was she singled out for prosecution, but she was singled out for specifically hard prosecution, and, you know, she was punished far more than she would have been otherwise if she'd just been an ordinary citizen, housewife, you know, getting done for something. This is looking very interesting. I don't think it's alcohol, because it's basically too light, I think. Sorry about this. You can imagine what it's like Christmas around my house, right? It takes forever to get into the open. Here we go. Coach is now going, it's a bad idea. I don't know. I think people probably quite enjoy watching me doing this, don't they? Or am I being a bit too optimistic there? No, it looks like a dog. It's a picture of a dog on here. It says Sunblogs Art. Could it be something for the... oh yeah, hand-painted, handmade original. Here we go. This is nice. Yeah, you see, I definitely don't want to hurt myself here. Where joy happens, it says. Here we go. Where joy happens, satisfaction guaranteed. Oh, it's a heron. Look at this. It's a heron. That's amazing. That is beautiful. And you can tell it's a heron because it's got an S-shaped neck, which, of course, is, yeah, have a look in the box. You can see that there's some legs in there as well. I'll show you how to get those out. Oh, here we go. This is great. I think that's how you do it. Yeah. Maybe it goes around the other way. Talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. And then normally speaking, maybe Pooch should do this because he's probably better at it than I am. You figure it out? There you go. That's lovely. Now, is there a card in here? Oh, there is a card. This is from Tina, who says, it's good to finally be able to send this to you. I hope it reaches you safely. After watching your first shows, I really liked the story you shared about the heron and your mum, so I wanted to find one that felt right for your new studio, something that might bring you good luck and remind you of her. How lovely. Tina, thank you. I would have liked to send this sooner, but without an address, it had to wait, and in the meantime, I see another heron has already made it into the studio. Well, technically speaking, it's not a heron, it's a crane. Thank you, Donald. Still, I hope you'll enjoy this one too and find room for him or her. I've followed your work for many years and I'm really enjoying the new show. Wishing you all the best for the future. You're doing great. Tina, thank you so much. So you put the heron back there, right? Looks good, doesn't it? Really, that's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. And look at it, we're nearly up to 9 o'clock already. Now, coming up, I've got to do you my rant of the day, which is Mike's Meltdown. I haven't even mentioned the Chris Packham story, which is on the front page of the Telegraph, about how apparently he's been accused of harassing huntsmen for hours and hours on end down in Dorset somewhere. He's gone a bit mad, hasn't he, old Chris Packham? We'll come back to that. Also, if you are in a position to send us a message, by all means, please do. Cookie Boy says, where's your head bag, Pooch? You didn't show your face, did you, Pooch? He went backwards, yeah, so he didn't need to put the bag over his head. I'll just check my messages and emails while you're opening your present, says Jammy Horse. Yeah, all right. Listen, it's a live show. What do you want from me? You know, the whole point is that we do things without any tricks, and we don't pretend that we've opened things before, and that's probably why on most TV shows they open things before they actually pretend to open them, but not here. It's called authenticity. Hi Mike, please can you think about extending the Mike Graham media coverage by giving Russell Quirk his own show, assuming he is available over the weekend? Great show. Lucy is brilliant. That's from Russell Quirk. No, it's not. That's from Phil. Well, do you know what? Actually, we're thinking very much quite seriously about doing that and about extending our show and allowing Russell in to do a couple of bits and bobs as long as he's able to. And we're actually looking to do that around the clock, around through the whole week. Because what we'd like to do here at the Mike Graham Show is to build on what I'm doing and give other people an opportunity to do a show as well, in order to kind of entertain the troops, as it were, round the clock. So, you know, what we'd like in sort of the final analysis is to have a sort of a channel, effectively, for want of a better phrase, so that, you know, my show finishes and then somebody else comes on and somebody else comes on, and you guys can just keep watching the Mike Graham channel. We haven't quite thought of a name yet. We're still thinking about that, throughout the course of the day. Because we've got Plank of the Week that goes out, of course, on a Friday night, 7 o'clock. You can still watch that, by the way. We might, I don't know if we've got a clip of that, have we? But we'll get one for tomorrow, because I think one of the things that we should do more of is to highlight our own output, you know. Plank of the Week goes out every Friday, but you can watch it every single day between now and next Friday, till the next one comes on. The heron looks absolutely beautiful there. Needs a small uplight, says Jan. Yeah, thanks, Jan. Well, maybe you could send us one now that you've got our address. Send us a light and we'll put it up next to the heron. There it is, Suite 19.6, Exhibition House, Addison Bridge Place, London W14 8XP. And I can tell you that despite the fact that I may have mangled the whole idea of opening that stuff, the audience didn't dip at all. Still 15,000 plus people watching. The biggest breakfast show in the land. Thank you so much for joining us. Alan Miller will join us after the news. Right now, though, let's go and see what Edward Hughes, who's been getting the date wrong all day, by the way, has got for us.
Good morning. It's Friday the 6th of February. I'm Edward Hughes. Oh joy. Another Monday in broken Britain. Keir Starmer's chief of staff dramatically quit yesterday because apparently nobody thought appointing Peter Mandelson, yes, that Peter Mandelson, as US ambassador was a bad idea, despite his charming little pen pal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Who could have seen that backlash coming? Truly masterful judgment from the man who promised change. Meanwhile, police are now raiding Mandelson's houses like it's 2008 all over again, and half the Labour Party is whispering, maybe Keir shouldn't be PM anymore. But don't worry, he's definitely staying. According to the ministers, he hasn't fired yet. Elsewhere, it's rained every single day this year in half the country, so enjoy your new national sport of indoor swimming. 300,000 kids might wait a decade for settled status because bureaucracy is apparently the new British value. Schools are sacking teachers despite all those shiny funding promises. And bishops are reminding everyone the cross isn't a far-right logo. Shocking revelation. Truly, what a time to be alive. Back to your soggy commute, everyone. Nothing to see here. Please like and subscribe. Laters, tigers.
Yeah, Edward Hughes with the news there. A bit disappointed there you haven't fixed the date, I'm afraid, Edward. We might have to have words after the show. He keeps saying it's Friday. It's clearly not Friday, it's Monday. But it could be the big day. And we're going to talk to Alan Miller in a minute from the Together Declaration about what this day will hold for all of us. Because if it does turn out that Keir Starmer is going to resign, and I think he is, then there's going to be much rejoicing around the land, right? And it's got to be time. Have we got a little sting for this, Mike's meltdown? Oh, there we are. That's a terrible picture of me, but don't worry, I blame Charlotte for that. They said, get a picture of him looking angry. Look, here's the thing. So how long can Starmer cling on, is what it says on the front page of the Daily Mail. I don't think he can cling on for very much longer, and I'll tell you for why. Because he's now got rid of the one person who was his kind of pilot fish, his guiding light. You know, Morgan McSweeney, a strange name. It sounds like a pirate, and we used to make fun of it when I was at school. Morgan McSweeney will be coming to join you soon. He's got some ideas about the economy. Well, he's gone now, and I think it's really, really pathetic that Keir Starmer thinks that by getting rid of him, he gives himself more of a chance to survive, right? These politicians haven't got a clue. Everybody can see what's going on. Everybody can see that Keir Starmer just hasn't got it. He doesn't know how to be Prime Minister. He thinks all he's got to do is put on a suit and go abroad and go and hang around with people like Volodymyr Zelensky and Emmanuel Macron and that bloke Carney from Canada. And if he goes over to the White House and he looks presidential in the White House Oval Office, people will think, oh, isn't he impressive? Isn't he a great guy? Doesn't he represent Britain so well? And he is an international statesman after all. I mean, that's what his supporters say. But even his own supporters are now looking at him and thinking, you are, mate, a busted flush. You are completely and utterly useless. You need to go away and never darken our door again. Because here's what Keir Starmer's managed to achieve in the less than 2 years that he's been Prime Minister. He's managed to make it impossible for Labour to ever win another general election, right? Because who would vote for this shower? David Lammy, complete and utter numpty, right? Angela Rayner. She's managed to get somebody to come in and film her getting her hair done because she thinks she's got another chance of being Prime Minister, but she doesn't actually know how much tax she should pay when she buys a house. She doesn't know whether her council tax is payable by the government or by us or by her. She doesn't have a clue, you know. What about old Yvette Cooper? Completely useless, miserable woman, useless at everything she's ever done. Shabana Mahmood came in. She said she was going to stop the boats. Well, they're still coming, and she's still not doing anything about it. Who else have we got? Where's Streeting? The man who said that he was going to fix the NHS. Well, the NHS is still broken, and it's getting worse. Only yesterday, Pat McFadden, the guy who's meant to be the kind of enforcer, the one they send out whenever there's a problem, he told another lie. He said, we're fixing the NHS, we're reducing the waiting list. We know from last week, the Times said it, that I've accused them of before. They're not getting rid of people from the waiting list. They're actually just losing their names. They're just chalking people's names off and going, you know, well, he's dead, she's dead, they're not waiting anymore. We must be doing something right. Yeah, people are dying because they can't see a doctor. That's what's happening. Meanwhile, you've got a foreign secretary who doesn't know where Iran is, right? Meanwhile, you've got a health secretary who can't fix the health service. Meanwhile, you've got a transport secretary who, thankfully, at least isn't pretending she's had her phone stolen every 5 minutes. You've got an education secretary who hasn't been educated. The whole thing is a complete and utter disaster. I think we need a general election, and I think we should have a general election probably before the summer. Mark my words, I've been right about this for 2 years. I've been telling you that these people will not last. And so it proves. And I think Keir Starmer will be out of a job probably by, if not today, Wednesday. All right? Mark my words. This message timed at 6 minutes past 9 on Monday the 9th of February. Thank you very much indeed. Let's talk to Alan Miller. Alan, very good morning to you, sir. Good morning. Sorry to keep you waiting. I know you've been here for a while. How do you like the studio?
It's fantastic.
It's great,
I'm very impressed. You've got natural light.
We've got natural light.
It's really cool. It's actually very elegant. And sometimes when you're in studios, it's like lots of sound attenuation measures. But this is like you're in a bougie, kind of funky hotel with Mike Graham.
Yeah, you do. You feel like you're kind of in a proper room. You know, Pooch is to blame for all of this. He can take all the credit. I can take none of it. He's put all of this together. You know, we literally rented an empty room. There was nothing here. And he's put it all in. He's redesigned it. He bought a cabinet, which he put together at the weekend. You know, we've got a coffee machine, we've got water, we've got a sofa, we've got a coat rack. I mean, it's just great. I really love it.
I like it a lot. It's really good, yeah.
And listen, you're very welcome if you want to come here and record anything, or if you want to do anything with your organisation. We'd love to have you.
Oh, that's very kind.
Because a lot of studios, one, are bloody expensive, and two, they're really kind of hard line about things. You know, like if you want to record for something like an hour, and if you go over an hour, they charge you another hour.
Yeah.
We won't be doing any of that, you know, because we are the voice, I think what I would call myself the voice of the kind of common sense people of this country. And I have to say, I cannot wait for the moment, which might be sooner rather than later, when Keir Starmer comes out Downing Street and goes, I'm off. Right? Because he's been hopeless, hasn't he?
He has been hopeless. He's been worse than hopeless. He's lied and been disingenuous. So there are many things that have not been in the manifesto, and that they were imposed. There were promises made to farmers. They did a complete U-turn on that. Now, because farmers and the public have forced them, they've done a partial U-turn. But really, I think we need to have the whole of inheritance tax scrapped. They've had no one discuss digital ID and the Blair. I was going to say the Blair Witch Project, which sounds a bit better than the Blair Institute.
Or the Witch Blair Project, we used to call it, you know.
Exactly, but the Tony Blair Institute initiative of everyone's got to have an ID, but the British public don't want it, and yet it's still imposed. Then they do what they call a U-turn, but they still have 8 million directors being forced as we speak through one login. Our children with a unique digital identifier, having it imposed on them. You know, veterans very, very sensibly have not taken up the offer to be guinea pigs with it. But across the board, as well as jettisoning juries and the rights to appeal, and the attacks on free speech, more things we found out, as we've seen with Lucy Connelly and the situation there, people saying, oh, we didn't know, and then things being rushed through.
And I mean,
constantly.
again, I said this all along at many points, that you know when something smells bad, right? I knew that Lucy Connelly was not in any way, shape or form somebody who should have been locked up since the moment she was arrested and not allowed home to see her family and not allowed home at weekends, which most, people are, even if they're, quite violent criminals. You knew that she was being punished way over and above what she'd actually done, right?
Exactly. So we've got a situation where not only it's very harmful and damaging, we've had a situation where we know there was a low turnout, and we know there was a low turnout because, frankly, so many people understandably were furious with what the Conservatives had done.
Yeah, they were hopeless as well. Let's not make a mistake
and
there.
damaging and harmful.
Yeah.
And we had they were given an instruction to do by the public, and that was to with Brexit. And instead, we saw lockdowns and a range of measures that we've talked about at length. But in many ways, McSweeney's also one of the promoters with Labour Together of digital ID cards, among other things, and he'd kind of moved on, but he was very important at Labour Together with Lisa Nandy and others. And what you've got is a crisis of the Labour Party, actually, and the Conservatives, and I'm all for that. It's a huge change that's happening, seismic, I think we're seeing with Reform and other parties that are launching, and we've got a situation where with any disruption, there's some great opportunities. There's also some concerning things. Yeah. We're seeing sectarian type parties being promoted and the kind of around the identitarian idea, quite radical sometimes around some of the Islamist agenda. But, we're seeing new parties emerging. I think that the old kind of relationship between Labour and the working class is done. I think Keir Starmer, he goes, but as you say, who have we got to replace him, right? I mean, probably their safest pair of hands in some ways might be an Andy Burnham, right? But you got a situation where who knows if he was blocked from standing in the by-election.
I bet they're regretting that now, because at least if they'd given him the opportunity to do that, they would have had an alternative, and they would have also had an option to bring somebody new into the party and into the cabinet. But now they can't, and they probably won't win the election now, the by-election.
Well, they're not going to win the by-election, and I think the thing is that we've got some very, very concerning issues. We've got a kind of what they would call the Green Party, but their deputy, when he was sworn in, when he won his position, he shouted out Allahu Akbar. I'm not sure if that's a Green position, but then on top.
Doesn't sound like it, does it?
No, it doesn't sound. I thought it was the Green was about the environment.
Yeah.
And now you've got a situation where they're talking about an alliance between that more Islamist outlook and the Greens. And so the question about what's going to happen next, and obviously Reform is polling very highly, but Gorton is going to be heavily contested, right? It's not a shoo-in for anyone. That's going to be a real big battle. More broadly, I think the public's sick to the teeth, Mike, with having given an instruction so many years ago. We've now seen Keir Starmer also not just flirting, but pushing towards trying to reunite different areas with the EU, the globalist organisation we said we didn't want nothing of. And what this should tell everyone is, because we saw the same thing, didn't we? We saw it with Boris and Dominic Cummings, and we saw, I know that you can put people and say, well, they're to blame, but as a leader, you need to take responsibility. He will, and I agree with you. Last week I said he can't survive this. The question is, though, the public want to see people that are, it's not so much about authentic, they want to see people that are capable, diligent, they're honest, and they actually can lay out a landscape and say, look, these things are going to be difficult, but this is what we're going to need to do, and have a manifesto that engages them, the public, that says, we've had 30 years of technocratic impositions where we've ignored the public, where we've kind of done all these things that are kind of like a cosy club and not being accountable, and said, we can't do anything because of the EU. Now, the public wants to see people who can deal with things and get on with it and execute. So I'm not sure what's going to happen next, obviously, in the next immediate period, whoever their next leader is. But what's for sure is that some more bigger changes on the horizon. The question is now, and what we say it together, it's really important, is that we need to make sure that the public, I know that when you go to work and you've got a busy life and all that, you don't necessarily want to be involved in politics. But the one sure way to keep everyone accountable is to have us, as the public, flex our muscles and put pressure on them, because we've seen a forced U-turn on farming. We've seen a forced U-turn on mandatory digital IDs, although they're still carrying on with one login and the rest of it. we've seen that on a range of issues, we can get things changed. We saw that with the vaccine passports. We saw that with a mandatory jab that we fought with 100,000 NHS staff and others. And across the board, we've pushed with the Bank of England around things like banks and cash. And free speech and not debanking. On a range of issues, we've won a lot of things. But the way we do it is to make people concerned that A, they won't get elected or they'll lose the election. That's really important. So 7th of May is coming up.
Do you feel as though you've found a kind of a winning formula, if you like, in order to fight back against some of the things that you don't want to see coming in? Do you feel as though you've got a model now that people can go, oh, actually, that guy Alan Miller from the Together Declaration, they can actually stop things happening. They can get things done. I'm going to go and join that organisation. Do you feel
I
like
absolutely think that we have demonstrated that, Mike. I think that if you look at Uxbridge, the election there, a couple of years ago, when we started really pushing the No to Net Zero campaign, some people were like, oh, that's a bit like too... You know, it's funny how fast things have changed.
Wearing a tinfoil hat.
Yeah,
is
that
right?
a little bit too outrageous? The thing is how quickly everything's changed and everyone recognising net zero, not only is it draconian and mad and damaging, but it's never going to be able to happen. And everyone pulling away from it, whereas they were just... But the thing is that we did a lot of campaigning around that, and with also people locally, low traffic neighbourhoods. We didn't win the fight on ULEZ. Sometimes you lose, but you fight back. But that has informed many of the things that are coming on now. So the last local elections and this one coming up, lots of people are going to be saying, well, we're not doing the net zero thing. We're actually going to pull out those low traffic neighbourhoods. We know money's made from it, but actually if we don't do all the net zero policies, we can get money coming in from a different budgetary pot. And so we are having an impact across the board on all these things. It's really important that, I mean, I know you've got a lot of viewers and that people recognise that it's not just that we sign a petition or we write to an MP or we phone them. We've got a series that we do that we, if you join togetherdeclaration.org, even as just with your email, but as a member, we have a whole series of things we do. We say, email the MP, phone them up, visit them, write them a letter, then go back to them again, put pressure on them. And if we have 100 people do that, or 200 or 300 or 500 or 1,000 in a constituency, they take a lot of notice, and so do they in Whitehall. And the same thing, so councillors, MPs, we do that with institutions. We've had hundreds of thousands of emails go to various institutions. I've mentioned the Financial Control Authority, the Bank of England, the NHS and others. So we have got a formula, but the thing is, even when we get things changed, with the Department of Transport, we got them to stop funding livable streets, which was the low traffic neighbourhood. They use all these different words. And so we've got to free our streets and
they're
keep...
very good at coming up with names for things that disguise what they actually do, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, when you suddenly go, oh, that's an interesting looking campaign. Oh, it's funded by Sadiq Khan.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, we were going to make him plank of the day. We haven't done that yet, have we? Because he's now talking about getting us back into the European Union.
Yeah.
And he would like London to become a sort of almost separate entity to the rest of Britain.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, the thing is, but what I was going to say is, well, we get those things changed, but then the Labour Party came in and they reversed that at the Department of Transport, so they carried on. And Angela Rayner did say, the one thing they did say in advance was that we will carry on doing this everywhere. And so there's an attack on the public, and we're really keen that the public holds everyone accountable. If you remember, Boris Johnson has said, if I was ever given an ID card, I'd eat it.
Yeah.
And then he ended up saying, well, today's Freedom Day, but we're going to have vaccine passports for hospitality.
Yeah.
And so what we're saying is, when people are in opposition or even, people can say all sorts of things, but the only guarantee for everything is to make sure that the public hold people accountable. Now, that said, I'm really excited about people standing. There's a lot of people that are standing that have never been involved in politics. For local councillors, there will be for MPs. Yeah. We need more people from business. We need chippies. We need plumbers. We need people who've got experience in life across the board to stand up and represent our areas and to get a rejuvenation of Britain. What we need is from coasts to the countryside to city centres across the board that's based on taking the best things of our past, our heritage, our innovation, engineering, can-do approach, getting rid of the bureaucracy we've got now as a kind of doge with the civil servants who get in the way of politicians and the democratic impulse in our institutions, in education, in health, across the board, have efficiency, have people who know how to get things done, who are committed to their neighbourhood and also to the country, make sure we take control of our borders, but also have a clear vision and plan. not just in the electoral cycle, not just for the next few years or 2 electoral cycles, but for the next 50 or 100. Where do we want Britain to be?
Yeah.
And I think that...
Which nobody's ever done, really. Because, part of the problem I think we've always had in this country is it's all short-termist, isn't it? It's all about, not even 5-year plans. It's kind of 1-year plan, and with Starmer and with Labour, they would go off on some tangent, and then 6 months later they reversed it. Like they did with the farmers, they did with the winter fuel allowance. Like they're doing with schools. Everything that they seem to suggest, they change their mind on 6 months later.
When you haven't got a commitment to serious ideas and principles, and you haven't won them over, and this is, I think, is a point to mention Liz Truss here, because Liz Truss is lampooned by a lot of people, but actually she had some very good ideas. Yeah. She didn't win even the Conservative members over to it and the public. That was the problem, right? And so she...
And the Bank of England.
Yeah, and Andrew Bailey then went and did the stuff he did. This is what I'm talking about, institutions running riot. He's now saying we can't allow populists... can't allow sovereignty to happen. We have to, as globalists, impose things. He's publicly saying that. And that's why winning the public and having them behind the commitment to doing things is so essential. It's got to be said that Reform looks like they're doing that. That they have got at the moment the populist wind behind their sails.
And they're also approachable, I mean, I was talking to somebody from Reform at the weekend who was saying that, the by-election is going to be, tough for them to win, but they think they can win it. But they worry about whether a lot of Labour voters are going to just vote Green to keep them out, because that's the big problem they're going to face, isn't it? Is people tactically voting to stop Reform winning?
I think it is, and I think that this is going to be an important one. And one of the things is that it's difficult to really tell. Because there's obviously the thing that's happened with devolution, and it's the same in Wales. And by the way, they did remarkably well in Wales. It's just incredible to see that. And I think it's very exciting to look at what's going to happen at the Senedd and in Scotland in May. But I think that Gorton is going to be interesting. It's always tricky because when people are on X and on social media, and there's a few people that make a lot of noise, you kind of gets that kind of sense. And but the Greens have taken up the slack of what's happened to Labour. And people have got a mixture of different ideas. They're very interesting what's happening. They've got the more radical, momentum-based people that are on the more, those kind of woke people. And then there's some of the old school kind of more environmentalists. It's a strange thing that's going on there. I just think that people should really take this very seriously, right? And listen to what the leader is saying, Zach and others, and think, what do you want? This is not a kind of comedy sketch. This is our country. This is our city. These are our cities. What do we want to see happening? In the last few years, we've seen some terrible things happen in terms of our own liberties, free speech, the kind of idea that you're not allowed to say certain things, but the welcoming of others, the championing of some that hate us in Britain. And I think that everybody needs to get out and vote. I think it's really important. I mean, I don't want to just obviously people in the north and the south, they all know this, but working people particularly, the right to vote is a very important thing. And I understand that in the technocratic period, in the 30 years, a lot of people were like, it wasn't going to make much difference, right? If you have a kind of Cameron or Blair, everything is up for grabs now. This is such a big moment for Britain. And the world's looking at Britain in the same way. As it happens, when we said that if we beat the jab mandate and others, the world looked at it. Everything changed when that happened. But right now, even more, in the same way as what happened with the Trump moment, the world is looking at Britain. You've got populism in Europe and elsewhere, but everything that happens, and us in Britain, it's really important that the stakes are so high. What kind of country do we want? I'm really concerned that so many capable young people and older people are leaving the country because of the tax situation, because of the damage to the economy, because of the issue with the borders, because getting things done seems to be impossible, from potholes to the A&E and social care across the board, right? It's a myriad of nightmares. They are resolvable. We're British. We have a can-do approach. We can execute and implement. We can have a plan and do it. We need to get those people back here, right? We need to get people working off all those benefits, but earning more profits for companies and earning more wages for people, right? Sluggishness has been a problem for a long time. We shouldn't kid ourselves. But this stuff is essential, right? And so the whole kind of identitarian moment, where it's kind of the superficial nature of politics, we've got a massive issue. And I think that this is not to be naive about anything or anyone, right? But I think that the populist movement is so important. I trust the public more than anyone else. And I think that that's why Manchester is so important. I'd encourage everyone, as we are doing, to vote. In the run-up to this, Mike, we've got events in different places around the country. On Thursday, on the 12th, we are in Wales, in between Cardiff and Gwent. And we're doing an event there on digital ID, on the farmers and on free speech. We've got Gareth Wyn-Jones speaking, Stephen Jackson from
He's a good guy.
He's great. And North Wales, coming down from North Wales to the south of the farmers. But the point we're making is that about the public is in the run-up now to these elections, and the Senate's important, that many of trust, if you think about Mark Drakeford and what happened in Wales during the lockdowns and the impacts, and there's still 20 miles an hour and the kind of way that they've been treated, and it's been on a locked off situation there. We've got the opportunity now to change a lot of those things. So we're going to be there in February. We're going to be in Scotland in March and the Midlands as well, Halifax and some other places. Of course, there are 30 places that are being stopped from having elections. So we're doing a Take Back Democracy campaign in all of those constituencies with people, with our members and supporters. And then we're going to have a big national series of events on the day of Saturday, the 25th of April, in London, outside the Senate, in Holyrood in Scotland and in Northern Ireland, around particularly digital ID, but around free speech digital ID as it continues, and around the idea of us, the public, and the elections. And we're saying to people, ask who's standing for elections, where they stand on these crucial issues, where they stand on the situation, should we be forced into digital ID? Where do they stand on free speech? Where do they stand on the question of net zero? On these issues, they are essential. Of course, there are a lot of things locally that people want to know, right? Are you going to fix potholes? Are you going to deal with services? But actually, those three key areas, right, net zero, free speech and digital ID, actually speaks to the approach of what this means for everyone, because net zero is imposing so many measures and restrictions on people. You know, I cycled here today. It's impossible to get across London properly in a car now, right? I mean, you can go on the underground, but they shut off all our streets, and the same is true of the Midlands and in different parts of the country. And the public's had enough of it. So it's really important we come out. Together, we're campaigning on our core issues and saying that we can have a really, really monumental influence on things right now. And I'm excited about it, but it comes with some real concerns as well.
No, of course, absolutely. Well, Alan, listen, it's great to see you. We're behind you every step of the way, obviously.
Thank you.
Anything you want us to do for you, we'll be happy to do. The Together Declaration, go ahead and find it on YouTube. You've probably got a YouTube channel, have you?
Yeah.
And togetherdeclaration.org, I think it is, isn't it?
Right.
So, yeah, lots of things to talk about and lots of things to get involved in. And if you want to be taking part in it, Alan's your guy, do get in touch. We're going to pretty much wrap up the show now. We're waiting, as I say, patiently for Keir Starmer to chuck it all in so we can all have a bit of a party and see who comes next. But meanwhile, we should probably finish up with Plank of the Day, shouldn't we?
Hello, it's Plank of the Day time.
Now, the reason I was going to do Plank of the Day on Sadiq Khan was that there was a piece written, I think it was in a Telegraph, Pooch, that Sadiq Khan basically wants to rejoin the European Union. Here we go. London Mayor believes it will happen in his lifetime and wants to rejoin the single market. In the meantime, my ultimate goal, he says, is to reverse Brexit. What an absolute plank, right? The problem with old Sadiq Khan is that nobody can seem to get rid of him, right? Every single time he gets a chance to run for election again, he seems to do it. He seems to have been Mayor of London for years and years and years and years, and I don't know why. How can we not find somebody to beat him? Layla Cunningham is now going to run for reform, and we're hoping that she'll be able to dislodge him finally, because what we can't have is any plan that he's got to rejoin the European single market or indeed the European Union, because the one thing we do know is that ever since Sadiq Khan has been Mayor of London, London has gone down the toilet. London is a complete and utter mess. You just heard Alan Miller there talking about how you can't drive across it anymore. You really can't. And if you do drive anywhere, you either get fined for going more than 20 miles an hour, or you get fined for putting one of your tyres in a bus lane as you go round somebody, or you get fined because you literally, went into a yellow box when you shouldn't have. And I mean, the traffic nightmare is terrible. Also, if you happen to need to use the public transport system, it's not as good as it used to be. Taxi drivers will tell you it's an absolute nightmare. Everything in London is an absolute nightmare. Crime is up. They tried to make out that it was down, but it's not. There's a few less people being murdered this year than last year, but other than that, every single other incident of crime is up, you know. Shoplifting is up. Bag snatching is up. Phone theft is up. Car theft is up. You know, sexual assault is up. You know, what they call petty crime is up. Knife crime is also up, you know. So London is not a good example for the rest of the British Isles to take any account of the man running it. So Sadiq Khan, I'm sorry to say, you are today's Plank of the Day.
Hello, it's Plank of the Day time.
So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to Alan Miller. Thanks to all of our other guests. Graham Linehan was brilliant. Lucy Connelly was amazing. Claire Pearsall was great. We'll be watching out for you this afternoon and this morning to see what Keir Starmer gets up to. My bet is that he's gone by Wednesday, if not today. So keep your eyes peeled. Watch out for my YouTube channel, of course. You can look out for Plank of the Week on there as well, and Plonk of the Week from the weekend. And also, I'll keep you informed on my Twitter account and my Facebook account as well, all the social media outlets that I can get my hands on, because I think it will need to be Keir Starmer Cheerio Day. Be great, wouldn't it? We'll see you tomorrow, 7 a.m. And just remember, despite the fact there's an awful lot of it about, don't be a plank.
Remember, despite all of the others out there, it's always the others. Don't be a plank.